And we are streaming. We are streaming to the world. We are streaming to the world. Let us enjoy this moment. Sounds like Elvis. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I like that phrase. It says the internet can totally see you now. Oh, I got scared now. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this new setup that's partially done. By next week, it's going to be totally done. So, here we go. Yep, we are February the 2nd today. Absolutely. February the 1st was yesterday. You're living in the past, Richard. So, hello. I am so much better, I can tell you that. Last week, I was as miserable as a worm. And I bet a worm was less miserable than me. Hello, everybody. Hey, come on. Cat wants to come and say hello. Honey. There we go. Mr. Cat. Let's just play a little bit, Mr. Cat. So, hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. And it is nice to have all of you here. And nice to have you on board. And, of course, this, and I'll explain this in a few minutes. Because it's going to be the permanent, always here place for live shows. And so this is a Sony TV, by the way, and not a monitor. Basically, I'll explain all of that in a few seconds, what's going to happen here. So, hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave show. Sorry, last week I wasn't here. We are here usually every Fridays, 2000 hours UTC. Last week, I was so sick. It was totally going crazy. So, basically, the flu is amazingly strong. And it all started with helping a friend out on Tuesday of last week that just couldn't get out of bed because the flu was so strong that he just couldn't get out of bed, and he was in a situation that no one wants to be seen in. So basically, I went there, helped him dress up, clean up everything, and we called the ambulance and helped him with the hospital and everything because he just couldn't do it on himself by alone. And it was fine. But 2 days after, of course, I got the flu. So it was a really bad one. But, you know, I felt bad Friday, mostly Friday, Saturday, partly on Sunday. But basically what's going to happen is I started feeling better like Sunday night, and Monday was better already. So it was much more interesting. So basically, I feel good now. I still have a little bit of cough left, but I feel pretty good. So this is the Shortwave show. Yeah, sorry about the blinds. I am going to add, through the week this week, I'm going to add something that will totally block the light from here, because as we get into longer days, part of the show is going to be when the sun sets, and it sets right there, right now, really due west. So a little bit maybe northwest because we're a month past solstice, but it's going to be a problem for me. And so I'll do my best to fix that from in the next show. And in the next show, there's going to be a lot of changes here also. So welcome aboard. This is a show about radio, and we are here to entertain, of course, as I usually have. And I have not drank beers since more than almost 2 weeks now. Beer time is welcome today. So cheers, everybody. It's fin du monde, the end of the world And cheers, everyone. Okay, so changes coming. So nice to see everybody on board, by the way. This is not a new screen. It's a Sony TV that I had in the bedroom. And what's happening is that in the bedroom, I kind of don't look or don't watch TV at all. And basically that TV worked maybe, I don't know, at 1 hour a month. It was unused. And I thought, well, I don't really care for a TV in the bedroom. Why don't I take it and put it in my office, put the SDR on it with the desktop computer, and have it a permanent place where it's going to be used for something. And also, I will move the pirate flag that's in the back upper left corner here so that it was going to be easier to see. And so the pirate flag will be kind of more visible. And here, all of that is disappearing. I will have an Amiga 500 here and maybe the Atari 1040 ST right next to it, plugged into that thing, so that if I want to retro game, if I want to just enjoy a couple of games of some old game from the Amiga's time, I'll be able to just fire up the machine and use it there. And for the streaming, because this is not a smart TV, this is just a TV, I have an Apple TV, an unused Apple TV that I will set up here, so it's going to give me the possibility to have some YouTube, Netflix, and all of that on the TV here. And I think it's going to be a better setup. So it's part of my huge reorganization of my office. I don't do tech duties anymore, really. In 2018, I took a big decision for the tech duties. In 2018 is the first year that I ain't going to do, and I mean 0 tech jobs. I'm sick and tired of fixing people's computers. It's something that I did for 20 years, and I'm fed up. So since the 1st of January, no more tech jobs. It's over. And it's going to be a mix of, well, you know, I got better monetization from YouTube right now. It's been improving. Plus the donations I receive are giving me, you know, enough to live on. Plus the fact that I'll be working part-time, and basically at Microsoft, as some of you know. So basically all of that together is just going to be, cool. It's just going to be this 2018 thing where I'm going to, do what I want to do and work like I want. And I'm actually so blessed, basically, to be able to live from YouTube monetization. A lot of people want that. A lot of people, I've talked to so many people on YouTube and other YouTubers that say, man, you're lucky and having enough revenue to live on. And, I know it's something that's it's very hard to get to that level of monetization. And I'm totally happy to be able to do so. So anyways, new setup, it's always going to be here. And for those that follow my tech show, the tech shows are also going to be here. I am going to do this here all the time. So basically, it's going to be the setup for every show, for everything. And it's going to be nice because, you know what? What's fun is now I'm going to be able to set up my lighting system and everything in a permanent position. No more dragging the lights around, setting up, removing them, and that was part of one of the major problems of doing live shows. You set up everything, you do the live show for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, then you have to remove everything because some people are not going to be happy if I leave everything there. So it was important for me to have my office used for something, and it will be used for that all the time. So anyways, that's the latest news upon what's going to happen here. So all the shows are going to be done here from now on. So it's going to be, radio shows and tech shows of the Tuesday tech show. That's going to happen here. I will probably set up, maybe just the insider show, because I like to have one PC in the living room, and it's an insider PC that I'm using right now. And no, Mr. Cat, you cannot go on the computer. You can go next to it, but not on the computer. Thank you. Okay, and so anyways, it's some changes. I think there's going to be happy. And it's like when we paint a house and move things around. Sometimes one of the ways to get more enjoyment out of where you live is to move things around and change things a little bit, because it just feels good. And it does feel good to have some changes happening here. So that's what's going to happen. And I'm glad to be back with the Shortwave show. Hello, everybody. I'm going to say hello to everyone. So, William, I didn't turn on the IRC chat. Sorry, guys. I'm going to log in right now to the IRC chat for those that are over there. And let's connect. And here we are joining in to the IRC. Hello, everybody. Here we go. Okay. Hey, everyone. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool to see all of you here. Southern Illinois Sand. Hello there. Nice to have you here. Jerry DX. Nice to have you on board. Tree Hugger. William Helms. Nice to have you here. Brian Chappell. Nice to have you here. Yeah, Atari 1040 ST. In good working condition. I'm going to have it here. I'm going to have both. I'm going to leave myself a little space here so I can work on things. But I'll have the Amiga 500 and the Atari 1040 ST, one next to the other, so that I can fire them up. And I also have a Commodore 128. I was thinking of maybe putting it under here and ready to use also, so that I can just flick a switch, and whatever computer I want to use, it's going to be there. I think it's going to be cool, because I love these old machines, and what I don't like is I don't have a permanent place with a screen, so that I can just fire them up when needed. Every time I want to play an Amiga game, I gotta take everything, set it up in the living room. It was a mess, Now I'll be able to do it here. It's going to work fine, and so I've got my desktop PC that was in the living room, by the way, that I was showing the SDR. Is in the back of this screen right now. So the screen's there, and then just back of it, and it doesn't show, I've got the HP desktop PC running HD SDR. So it's right there, and I've bought a second wireless keyboard like this one, so that I can have my wireless keyboard for here and for the living room on the laptop that's left on the 50-inch TV. So that's the what's happening. Bobby Burgess, hello there. Nice to have you here. Thank you for your donation, Bobby. It's nice to have your monthly contribution. Thank you very much. Steve, hello there from Melbourne, Australia. Nice to have you on board. Steve and Maxine. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to have everybody here. So we have Cardinal Zorro. Hello there. PA1WX. The Amiga 500. That works fantastically well. The Hidden Rabbit, cheers, hello there, nice. Neil Toombs, hello there. Pretty cool, from the UK. Dax Farrer from Germany, Free Saxons, cheers, hello there. Rick Ristorante from Stockholm, nice to have you here, SM0SBT. What do we have? Nick Amendout, hello there from Romania. Mickey Delmage from the western part of Canada, in Alberta. Nice to have you on board. SG2 East Nebraska in the IRC chat, nice to have you on board. Two Hands on the Radio. PLF Radio from France, MDK2, hello there. Southern Illinois Sand, Eddie Gomez, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Richard Cook from the UK. Jerry, nice to have you on board. And always nice to have your emails of all sorts of things, interesting things that you find on the internet. What else do we have? What else do we have? If I miss out on anybody, please say hello. I want to say hi. It's nice to have you here, all of you, as usual. Tree Hugger, you like your realistic DX398? It's a nice radio. I love mine. It's really, really cool radio. And very, very, very nice. The only drawback, the only thing that might happen is the DX398 has a flaw with the speaker. Sometimes the speaker goes out. That's what happened to mine. So I actually listen with an outboard speaker on it when I want to use it. But technically, the best would be to change the speaker. I'll have a talk with Mr. Fastload. He might want, and he might be interested in doing that little thing for me, as I don't feel like playing with radios inside the radios anymore. When you play with electronics, you like playing with electronics and you're used to it. But when you haven't touched or opened radios or opened things to play with them and maybe do modifications in a long, long time, you kind of lose that ability a little bit, and you don't feel as sure about it yourself. So basically what happens, I prefer letting Fastload, which that enjoys, by the way, playing around with radios and opening them and playing around with electronic stuff. So I know he's going to have fun doing it, and I'll have a good working radio, so I'll have to check out with him what we're going to do with that. And what else do we have? Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the donations. I see donations coming in right now, so thank you very much with your donations. It really, really helps me a lot continuing what I do, and it's part of the reason I can do this and live out of this also. Also, I'm actually in a year of transition. You guys remember last year, at the beginning of the year, and at the end of 2016, I was very nervous at the future of my YouTube stuff and what I'm gonna do, because monetization was decreasing all the time. And there's a point where we gotta live, and living is not cheap. I mean, you got to pay the rent, you got to pay bills, you got to pay everything, and the food. And basically, I was looking at declining revenue, but everything costs more and more, and I was really not sure about 2017. Especially last year, I got to say, where I got hit hard is when YouTube had the ban of ads from some big companies. It really showed in the monetization. And in April, I'd say in March and April of last year, I was thinking that maybe I would not be here in 2018 because monetization was low to a point where it was unsustainable. I could not continue. But suddenly around July and August, there was a turnaround. Not only was it back at normal, it was better than normal. And I had every month of September, October, November, December higher than the year before, and even more than that. December for me was, when I looked at all the stats from the past, December for me was the best December in 2 years. That kind of made me a little more positive towards the future of me doing live shows like this. And I ended up I ended January with a monetization which is roughly 35% higher than January of 2017. So it's kind of telling me, you know what, maybe it ain't gonna be so bad. Also, my views have gone tremendously up. From January of last year to January of this year, my views are like 30 to 40% higher. They're really they've really increased a lot. Helps also, and it's kind of interesting. There's kind of a turnaround, and I don't know what's driving it exactly on YouTube, but there's kind of a turnaround of monetization. I'm kind of happy for that because I was getting a little, worried there. Matt, UK. SWL, nice to have you on board. Vianney Arsenault, bonjour, bienvenue. Nice to have you here. Bud Householder, nice to have you here in Ohio. Matrix 54, nice to have you here. Good afternoon. What else do we have? Am I missing on anybody? Hello, everyone. Please say hello if I haven't said hi. Manny CV, hello there. Nice to have you here. Modox C, nice to have you on board. Greetings from the 8C. What's the 8C? Excuse my ignorance. What's the 8C? Chris Freitas, nice to have you on board from work at WMC TV. Cool. Still waiting on this RTL SDR and looking for a good indoor antenna. Cool. Cool. Love it. First day using it. I watched your vids on it. Yeah, it's a beautiful radio. I love the DX398 is amazing. For those that wonder, it's the same thing as the Sangean ATS 909. It's a beautiful radio. So thank you very much, MDK2, for the donation. Very much appreciated. Richard says, what will happen when it's summer and it's slow solar flux? You know, I like to just say one thing. We are going towards a lower solar activity time, and that, unfortunately, there's nothing, absolutely nothing we can do about it. We got to live through the low solar cycle. We got to live through the fact that the solar cycle was rather low compared to the usual solar cycle, but we got to live with the fact that we're in the solar minimum. We are going to stay there for the next 2 years at least. So we got to understand that lower frequencies will prevail, meaning in the daytime, you know, above 20 megahertz, it's not going to be a lot of stuff to listen to most of the time, except when there's sporadic E-skip and everything. But you know, well, there's going to be stuff to listen to. I was listening before the show started. I was setting up everything, and I was tuning around the SDR here. Propagation is actually not bad, and there's actually a lot of little things. And it's just that, you know, I'm mid-afternoon here, and I'm listening to a 49 meter band right now. I was on 5970, which was China radio in French, and it was coming in really well. And what's going to happen this summer is we'll have, you know, below 20 megahertz will be the range where we're going to listen to most of the stuff, probably. You know, I expect the 19 meter band and the 16 meter band to be open okay in the daytime. The evenings, you know, I expect improved propagation a little bit in the evenings because, frankly, the hardest part of the low solar cycle we're having is that in the winter time, when the sun sets, the maximum usable frequency descends so low that even 49 meter band stations are not that strong. Radio Romania has been harder to receive on the East Coast in the past 2 months at their North American, you know, 0100 UT broadcast. So that is going to improve now as the day gets a little longer here in the Northern Hemisphere. But, you know, there's going to be stuff to listen to. Don't worry too much about the low solar activity. You know, I like to always say some of the best DX I've ever had was done when the solar activity was low. I've listened to the world even with solar activity being at the lowest point. There will always be something. What we mostly have to be careful is the geomagnetic storming that might come from you know, coronal holes and stuff like that. But, you know, we should have some nice, you know, some nice stuff. So now I'm hearing the Voice of Turkey on 5970 is the Voice of Turkey interval signal. There's some stuff to listen to on the bands. So yeah, Triager, that Grundig is amazing. I'm gonna do a review in the next few days. I was waiting, but this is a beautiful radio and really, really amazing receiver. That is, I just love this radio. It's just a cool piece of equipment, and it's amazing performer. It's so amazing for all the things in there. This thing is a beautiful achievement in technology. I mean, Grundig in 1969 was clearly amazing when building this thing in Germany. Amazing radio. Wow. So, what else do we have? Did I miss out on anybody? Anybody? Just going down slowly. The Satellite 750 came with plastic or metal knobs. That's a good question. I would guess that I wouldn't be surprised with plastic knobs. But I don't know, maybe somebody can answer that. What do we have? Dark Noise NL says shortwave is always better than DAB. Yeah. What else? Yeah, that's what I think too. I think it was plastic. I'm pretty sure it was plastic. But the older, but you know, we got to be careful also because the Grundigs, one of the problems with Grundig is the fact that it isn't Grundig past a certain point in time. Grundig, I don't think Grundig made radios pretty much past the 90s. After that, it was made by some Chinese company for the Grundig brand. Then Ethon purchased, and you know, Grundig is today not what Grundig was at all. There's no more real Grundig. Basically, it's just a brand name being used and exploited because of everybody knew that Grundig was good, and they're using that. Intriguer. PLF Radio says, Man Reader DXer, hello there. Grundig was first ever shortwave portable, Yadboy 215. PLF Radio says, does solar activity affect VHF and UHF also? It does a little bit, but its effects are not very, very big. But it depends on the frequency range. If we're talking, okay, so VHF, the very high frequency range starts at 30 megahertz. Up to about 100 megahertz, very high solar activity can actually impact the VHF range from 30 to 100 megahertz. Because if solar activity is very strong, you will have the equivalent of shortwave propagation happening. Because if the ionosphere, once solar activity is very strong, the ionosphere thickens. And it actually makes it support higher than 30 megahertz bounces. So you could technically have signals up to 40, 50, 60 megahertz bounce out the ionosphere in very high solar activity. So the lower part of VHF, yes, will be affected by very high solar activity. For the rest, mostly what's going to happen with solar activity on the VHF, UHF range is it might have an impact on the noise levels, because the sun emits noise on pretty much a very wide spectrum of frequencies. And one article that I've read is that in the UHF spectrum, when you're at 4, 5, 6, 700 megahertz, actually higher solar activity means higher background noise in the daytime, because the sun has more noise output in its different output of frequencies. It does impact slightly the UHF range. Up to what point, I'm not sure. Is it enough that it would prevent you from receiving a weak station? I don't know. But it might impact in that area. Having solar flares that will create very strong geomagnetic storming will also impact VHF, UHF ranges with all sorts of propagation phenomena that can happen. Some UHF and VHF frequencies might actually have frequency or signal scattered through aurora borealis regions of the. So, for example, I know that some VHF, UHF modes of communication for some, there's all sorts of things like Earth, Moon, Earth, and stuff like that. But I know that aurora borealis has its own way of disrupting and enhancing, in some cases, the VHF, UHF spectrum sometimes. So the sun will have an impact. It's not the same impact as shortwave. Shortwave has a major impact out of the sun because shortwave relies on one aspect of our Earth that is actually created by the sun, which is the ionosphere. The ionosphere is there because the sun's radiation ionizes a layer of atmosphere in the stratosphere, about 100 kilometers up above our heads. And that means the sun has a major impact on that frequency range. But as you go higher and higher, I believe the impact of the sun is less and less being seen, basically. But there are some aspects. Jerry says, I wonder if there's a way of linking the R8500 with the ephedry. What would be the interest of linking the R85 and the ephedry? I'm trying to think of one. But one thing that I do like, the fact that now I will have this here and this here, it's been a long time that a lot of people have been asking me. I'll be able to do, compare the two radios. For a long time, a lot of you have been saying, hey, when are the videos for, comparing both radios coming? And that was a problem. I had a lot of difficulty, being able to compare both radios in an easy way. And what's nice now is that I'll have a much easier way of doing it. And I'm using these PC speakers that you see on each side with the Logitech PC speakers as the main driving for the sound of the ephedry on the PC here. So I'll be able at least to compare them much more. It's going to be easier. So Modix C says 8C is 75,000 acres, Savannah River impoundment separating South Carolina and Georgia. My backyard. Cool. Thanks for the knowledge. Richard says WRMI 7780. Let's check that out. 7780. I don't hear nothing. That frequency is really bad for me. I can tell you that. That frequency is really bad for me. Anything else? Let me check if there's something in the pirate bands. There's something here. What's that? Really nothing much. And we will tune around the bands and see what's on the different frequency ranges. It's nice to have this here. I hear WWV slightly on 10. What's interesting here is I'm just gonna do one thing here. Look at that, guys. I was always complaining. I was always complaining how the 8055 power supply, which is a switching power supply from ICOM that is provided with the R8500, is a crappy power supply. Just going to show you guys. Look at that. When I turn on my ICOM, look at all the lines of noise that appear. And that comes from the 8055 switching power supply. And then I switch off. Look at that. It disappears. Totally disappears. So the best way to use the ephedry is to actually leave the 8500 off. So that's also a change I'm going to make, as I'm going to change everything here. I went to Addison's the other day and I saw that a nice linear power supply for $149, 10 amp, and has cigarette lighter output and everything, and it was a really nice little thing. So I'm gonna invest in that power supply and just remove the shitty power supply from ICOM. I can't believe ICOM sells you a $2,000 radio with a shitty power supply like that. It's one of those things that sometimes you're just like, you guys, just to save some money, are really taking bad decisions. What else is there? Let's go down. I'm a little far in the chat, guys, but I'm coming back down. Royal Howard, nice to have you here. Let's keep it real. Software is easy. Why not just listen to a recording of Shortwave? Okay. What else do we have? Rock Restaurante says, my first DX receiver in the 70s was a Granic Satellite 2000. Cool. My first official radio was a cheap DX 100, a realistic here. But, you know. Shortwave guest, what is your bill for all radios turned on? You mean electricity bill? Is that the question? What impact it has on the electricity bill? You know, radios have very little impact on the electricity bill, honestly, because they don't really consume a lot of power. You know, that screen consumes more power than the ephedry by a very large margin. Just to give an idea, you know. But it ain't that high, honestly, if that's the question. What else do we have here? So you took my advice for the R9012 tree hugger. That's cool. It is an amazing little radio. You know, you gotta. I got a comment from a guy that said, well, you know, that's kind of crappy. I got one and it's crappy, and I said, if I compare it to my 8500 here or my ephedry, yes, it's crappy. But if, in all fairness, you give it its performance versus the price paid, I can tell you that R9012, that's not even 20 bucks. Honestly, it's so much better than a lot of $50, $60, $70 crappy radios, actually. And it's analog. You know, I like turning it on from time to time just for the fun of it, because it's just nice. It has a beautiful sound for what it is, and it receives signals, and it's surprising, you know. Pretty amazing when you think about it. So, what else do we have? So Spain's B17 frequencies, 9690, 11685, 15390, 15500. Let's try 9690 just for the fun of it. Yep, coming in pretty well.
Tanto aquí de momento van las cosas para el Baskonia, 14 minutos arriba, 61 Baskonia, Estrella Roja 47, 6:41 para llegar al final del tercer cuarto con canasta ahora mismo de Bobois que se convierte.
So that's Spain on 9690, pretty good. Yeah, 7780 is really bad for me, DK2. It's amazingly bad. I have not been able, since WRMI moved from 11580 to 7780. I just wish they would have kept 11580. I'm not enjoying my reception, my regular reception of you know, my Radio Slovakia and Ukraine and all of that. It's not coming in. Really not coming in. Fiani Arseno says, some station using 20 meters. Let's check the 20 meter band, just for the fun of it. 14200. Let's check it out. Upper sideband. Lots of very nice lines of interference showing up. Don't hear a lot. There's a little bit of what's here. So there's FT8 on 14074. That mode is amazingly popular. FT8 has become an amazingly popular mode in a very short amount of time. There's something here. Let's see if there's any other stations coming in. 20 meter band. Amateur radio. Spain's very good on 9690 in Denver, says NDK2. Daxfar is listening to 4625. And Xfire, have you ever heard voice communications on the buzzer frequency? Because apparently sometimes, from time to time, there's some voice communications. I've never heard some, personally, but I don't know. Yeah, there's one, actually they have one right in the plug of the power supply. You have one right on the plug of the power supply, MDK2. It's included. It's just crappy. Matt UK says 9690 is faint in the UK. Victor Osorio, nice to have you here. Vietnam on 7280 says Richard Cook. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yanni says, I need beers too. Environment is dry here. Like in some minutes. No problem. No problem. What's the cheapest single sideband capable radio? Dark Noise NL. I would say that the cheapest usable single sideband radio would be a Degen DE1103 if you can get one. The Texan PL600 also. They are about $70 maybe, $70 to $80, and they do well what they do, and they do well single sideband listening. That's pretty much. I don't know if anybody has a suggestion that I'm not thinking of right now. Yeah, Chris Freitas, pretty sure that a lot of people don't like software-defined radios. There's this hate thing against software-defined radios that is very difficult to understand, and I think it goes a lot on the way of one of the reasons there's some hate. They don't really understand what the software-defined radio is, and an SDR is kind of fun. I mean, I would. Personally, if somebody would take away my ephedry today, I'd be looking at something to replace it, because when you use something like that, it shows you the possibilities that a regular radio doesn't have. How many times have I been able to find that there was a signal somewhere and listen to some communications? Why? Because I was able to see, oh, look at that. There's something on right there, and I can click. And I can go and see if I can listen to whatever that was. And I have to say that is something that I like about SDRs. The visual aspect of a big chunk of the spectrum is amazing. I would have missed so many stations if it wasn't for the fact that I could see them appear on the SDR's display. And I don't know, it's a little bit like what I've noticed over the years is the there's two kinds. There's one category of radio listener or radio guy that seems to be stuck in the past and can't move forward. As we're moving ahead in technology, radio technology also is moving ahead. And what we have today is SDR, software-defined radios, are an example of technologies moving ahead for radio also. Look at the, somebody that would complain about an SDR, for example, and would tell me, hey, I bought a ICOM R8600, at least I've got a radio. You bought an SDR. Because the ICOM R8600 is a computer with a software-defined radio in it. It's as simple as that. It's a computer. It's not a radio. But it's a radio in the sense that it receives signals. But it is an SDR in a box, all contained in the same box. It's as if I would take the ephedry and a very small, a Raspberry Pi, put it in a box, and find a way to hook up maybe a tuning knob and some buttons to for keypad entry, and sell it as the I don't know, the Gilles Shortwave #1. And then some people would buy it and say, "Oh, look at that new shortwave radio." Yeah, well, it's an SDR. I just shoved a computer in a Fedry and put a little panel in front. And now you think it's a radio. Well, I got news for you. It's a computer with an SDR in it, and that's it. Unfortunately, we move on, and some people can't move on. It's like in the amateur hobby. Somebody was telling me the other day on a comment, "You know what? I hate your videos about digital modes. That's not what amateur radio is all about." Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Part of what amateur radio is about is digital modes. I mean, even more so, because amateur radio, and I think that's one of the major things a lot of people forget, that amateur radio is an experimental license for radio communications. It's something, amateur radio is more than just a hobby. Amateur radio actually helps our knowledge and the advancements of radio thanks to FT8. Okay, everybody's on FT8. Yeah, there's a lot of people there. A lot of people find that mode is dumb. It's just contacts. Well, I'm sorry, but as whatever you think of that mode, it has one thing that's pretty amazing. I mean, you hear nothing in the noise, and you decode some signals in there. You decode calls. It's what amateur radio is all about. Somebody somewhere has knowledge to write a piece of software and think of a mode that might actually go through noise. It's amateur radio in its glory. It's amateur radio in what it should be. We're moving ahead. We can't get stuck in the past. So what? Okay, we can't go ahead. You're watching my show, so I shouldn't do YouTube live stuff because it's new technology and we're listening to old technology that's called radio. So, I shouldn't have a live show with YouTube. I should have a live show, in some old format or some sort? You got to move ahead. At some point, we all have to move ahead. There's new technologies. It impacts everything, including radio. And I think somebody that enjoys all of that is much more interested in radio. I mean, there's never been... The advancements in technology have brought us a company called Texan that from China, yeah, cheap labor, and I'll agree with that. It's cheap labor. Okay? China, employees are not paid, and parts are really cheap there. Still, we've got radios that are more affordable today than ever. Getting into the hobby in 1982 when I started, the cheap end of the hobby was this, $100 radio. That is so crappy compared to, say, my Texan PL680 portable. That does a million times better everything than that little box here. It's never been so easy to get into the hobby, and technology has everything to do with it. The fact, of course, that it's made in China does lower the price. But all of that together, we got a radio and a chip now. The silicon integrated 47, 34, 35. They are shortwave AM FM radios and a chip. It's this big, man. You got a radio in there. You just have a few parts to add, a little amplifier for the audio, and hey, you've got a radio. And you've got a good radio. You don't have a crappy radio. You actually have an interestingly good radio. And that's technology. We got to live with it. We got to live that SDRs are here to stay. They're going to be even better. SDRs are not just going to here to stay. They're going to get better all the time. Okay? We will, I'm pretty sure that in a certain amount of time, somebody will have a SDR portable radio. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have someone's going to say, hey, look at that new $300 portable. Has a little screen. Has even a waterfall. And it's a portable thing. and it's a radio. Because somebody will say, oh, now we can really, for cheap, do a portable radio, works on batteries, that's going to be SDR. You know, I'll be, or personally, I will be one of the first buyers of a portable SDR radio. That everything's contained in one box with a little screen on it. Why not? That kind of be a cool portable radio to have, I can tell you that. So, anyways, we can't satisfy everybody, and I know some people like the old aspect. So, you know, it's just crazy. Richard Cook here. PLF radio. Okay, Robert Prosper. Hello there. Yes, you are right. The R9012 is poor on FM. That I'll give you totally. It's not a very good FM radio. It's an okay medium wave radio. It's a surprising shortwave radio. But hey, for what, 16, 17 bucks? I think it's still surprising as a little box, you know. PLF Radio says, what's the weight of the Grundig? I don't know, but this is heavy. This is more than 10 pounds. That's for sure. This weighs more than 10 pounds. I'd have to get on the scale and take the radio with me and see the difference in weight. I'm not sure exactly, but it's more than 10 pounds for sure. For sure. So 10 pounds is what? About 5 kilograms. 5-6 kilograms. It's 10 to 15 pounds. Easily. But it's all metal everywhere, you know. Makes the weight go up. So Richard Kozer seeing Voice of Hope often on shortwave 6250. 10 kilowatt station from South Korea. Really nice. That's good DX. That's really good DX. Kelly Taylor just tuned in. Which Icon power supply did you say? Yeah, the AD55, which is a switching power supply. Crappy thing. It's the crappiest thing, can tell you that. Crappiest thing ever. So, going down slowly, as I'm really far. Going down slowly. What happened to all the bandwidth previously occupied by Brother Stare? They, well, you know, what did happen? Mr. Osam, by the way, hello there. Kelly Taylor says, some SSTV on 14300. Wow, that's not a SSTV frequency usually. I'm just going to go there to see if I can hear anything, but it's usually not a SSTV frequencies. So basically what happened mostly, Robert, is that when the when Brother Stare stopped, you know, what was arrested and everything, most stations, except a few, some stations actually continued to carry Brother Stare on shortwave, mostly because they had a contract to end, you know, you had already paid, and so they didn't want to breach the contract. Most of these stations, and WRMI is a great example, they just shut down tons of transmitters. You know, Brother Stare was taking a lot of airtime on these stations, so of course a lot of them didn't have anything to replace. So they just, you know, WRMI just kind of basically, you know, just take everything and put it on a single frequency and shut down the transmitters that are not needed personally. And basically, you know, it's just we could see a lot of WRMI frequencies are now off the air. You know, they don't have anything to put on the air to replace the Brother Stare. He took a big chunk of the spectrum, you know. But I gotta say, even though the bands look quiet, feels good to not hear that guy on the air. I can tell you that. Uricon says, what do you listen on Radio Slovakia? I like Radio Slovakia. They have these nice programs of, you know, life in Slovakia. And, you know, I'm a real shortwave listener in the fact that I enjoy learning more. Basically, what I enjoy is knowing about the life of people in other countries, and Radio Slovakia does a pretty good job at letting us know what's happening in Slovakia. It's really nice for that. Ronald Zucala says, hello there, hello there. Recently purchased my first vintage shortwave radio, Zenith Super Transoceanic 850, produced in May 1951, working great. Wow, these are nice. These transoceanics are beautiful. There's a guy, I need to go back to see the guy at the flea market right next, not far from where I live. He's got tons of beautiful old-time radios. If I had money, I'd buy everything he's got. He's got like, 100 really beautiful and very well maintained radios from the past with shortwave on it and everything. Oh man, the tube radios, I love those. These are so beautiful. Yeah, Steve, the 8055 is picked up on the 8500 also. Actually, it's because my power supply blew up. There was a protection. It didn't protect, but I used to have my ICOM plugged into the linear power supply. So for years I didn't have that noise. I just take the 8055 power supply and I put it away in a drawer. And when my linear power supply blew up, I was doing an experiment, and I went to see something. I came back, 2 wires were touching, so it had shorted. Now, it had happened in the past, and because of the fact that it had a protection, I thought, well, yeah, it doesn't matter. When it shorts, it just cuts the current. But this time around, it didn't, and the power supply stopped working, and it was burned up bad on the circuit board. So I thought, okay, I'll get another one. But I haven't got to getting another one, and now I'm stuck with this shitty 8055, which is really bad. Hey, Ralph Bender, nice to have you here. Mr. Rassan says, how's the Eaton 3? The Eaton Traveler 3 is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Really am enjoying it. And just look at the channel. I posted the review of the Eaton Mini and the Eaton Traveler 3 yesterday. So really nice. What else do we have? K6YYL, Kimberly, nice to have you on board. Yeah, feeling much better, I have to say. PLF Radio says, I'll add the XH data D808 for SSB. How much is it worth, the XH data D808? How much does it cost? Yes, feeling better, Chris. Absolutely. Here's the SDR shirt. Yeah, we need an SDR shirt. MDK2 says, I have the PL600 and I don't enjoy the fact that SSB on there is actually DSB. That is both upper and lower. It's no good if you're in a crowded handband. Yeah, but well, a lot of the portables are like that, like the D1103. I have to say that one day has the separate upper-lower sideband. I gotta say it's much better. But absolutely, a distinct upper-lower sideband would be better. What beer am I drinking? Fin du Monde. Here, I'm going to show you guys. This is what I'm drinking. It's it's made here, it's brewed here in Quebec, and it's a triple Belgian-style ale, and it is 9%. So I can tell you one thing: after I drink 3 of those, I'm tipsy. Jerry says a Fedry Grand giveaway coming soon. Well, if somebody wants to donate a Fedry to do a raffle of some sort, a giveaway, I got no problem with that. And Fedry is amazing. I am really going crazy with that. PLF Radio says, I can't remember the DGen D1103. No, it doesn't. The D1103 does not. If you want to have one, the Texan PL680 that I have here, that one has separate upper, lower sideband. Plus, you get an amazingly good sync detector, but it moves the price up because it's closer to $100, $110 now. But it does have, the PL680 is good for that. It has separate upper lower single sideband. Chris says, I think there's some company making one with an Android tablet attached to it. No news on the release yet. That would be nice. That would be kind of nice to see. But there's it's really nice. SDRs are amazing when you think about it. That's for sure. Try to do your show on slow scan TV. Yeah. Man, SDRs are just like an electronic fish finder. You don't have to have one to fish if you don't want to, but worlds can still enjoy fishing. Yeah, both worlds can still enjoy everything. Absolutely. You know, it always makes me think of the old the old times when people were complaining that they removed the Morse code requirement for the amateur tests, and this is bad because now every idiot's gonna be an amateur radio, and it's like, look, we gotta move on with times. Morse code requirement is not an obligation today, and if I'm open to the idea that if it brings in new people into the hobby, why not? And technology is moving. I don't mean forget about Morse code, that's for sure, but but it's yeah, Jerry, they pay the Texan workers in rice, which is almost like that when you think about the price that they're being paid. But hey, we were there once, even here in Canada, in the 50s, people weren't paid. Why do you think U.S. and Canada were so good industrially in the 50s? Because people didn't get paid. It's simply that. And then we started having, higher wages, and everything that is manufacturing started going away. Why? Because other countries did it, Then it went to, I remember in the 80s, if you guys remember the 80s, we had some things made in Japan, a lot of them, the good one. But there's a lot of stuff made in Taiwan in the 80s. And look at that, Taiwan today is not we don't see Taiwan as a manufacturer of electronics much. It's now moved to China, It's crazy. There's a shift everywhere and where everything's going. Kenny Asano says you can compare old radios and new technologies, but in the past you have had big funds with your old radios. That's the important. But today we have new tech, and this is interesting. Absolutely, old and new stuff. Why not? Why not? Okay, what else do we have? Cherry says Jill. Going down, going down, going down. Oh, the RS-928. Chris Freitas says his first radio was a WorldStar WG6300, and also later had a Radio Shack DS390. And I remember being amazed with it. Now I am amazed with these SDRs and smaller radios that are cheaper and do so much. Absolutely. In 1982, when I got my DX100, a decent radio with digital readout, there was nothing below $300. You had to shed $300, $400, $500, which was a lot more money in 1982 than it is today, just to get something with a digital readout. And at $300, you had a digital readout, but you had something that was drifting. You had something that wasn't that great. It was okay. It was, you had a digital readout, which was amazing because, yeah, I remember when I got my DX302, and the first time that I looked at a frequency list, and I thought, hey, I can now go directly to the frequency and know if I hear or not the station. Where on this thing, I would spend half an hour finding the signal for radio whatever, because it was all mixed up somewhere and you weren't really sure exactly where to tune around. And you might have gone over it and not even know that it was there, or not hear it. And then I got a DX302 from Realistic, and that's like, wow, now I can tune around the frequency ranges and know, oh, it's on 15300. I don't hear it. I know I don't hear it. Let's move on to the next signal. But still, those radios were drifting. DX302, I know today because I have the knowledge to know that today. It's kind of a crappy radio. And in reality, the DX100 here is a bad radio. Not very sensitive. The DX302 suffered a lot of overloading. And, I didn't know that back then. I know it now. But there were so many signals back then that, it was kind of something you would, it doesn't matter. Even though this thing was not super sensitive, it was just good enough that with a wire antenna plugged on it, you'd get pretty much everything. There were so many things to listen to. They were working, So, Rick Rock Ristorante says, I'm beginning to feel old after your speech. Man. So, yeah, look at the Tivio V115. I mean, wow. Just crazy when you think about it. Just crazy. Oh, really? PLF Radio? Brother Stair will be back? Oh, God. TOT, nice to have you here. Hey, Bullfrog89, KD2CXU, nice to have you on board. And yes, I'm much better, feeling much better. I gotta tell you, last week was horrible. Nice to have you on board. Nice to have TOT. You know what, Tio? I was thinking about you yesterday. Because I went to purchase a pizza. And I was thinking of that time when I did that 5-hour show. And you tried to order pizza for me. Oh, God. That was a funny one. I can tell you that. So, no, I didn't miss that much from this show. We're already an hour into the show. I mean, I just blabber and it's like, wow, okay. Yep, the Traveler 3 has RDS. I forgot to mention that yesterday in the review. But anyways, I want to do a separate review of each band. I always do that with radios. So I want to do like a tuning of the medium wave band, the FM band, and the shortwave bands. So I'll be posting that. And yes, it has RDS, and it is very, very nice. And I got to say that the RDS functionality is also nice because you choose which type of info on the RDS you're getting. And it's really very nice. Mike DX, nice to have you on board. He's monitoring the extravehicular activity. That's the spacewalk from the ISS on 130.167 Narrow FM. Cool. That's nice. That is nice. It's really nice. Cool, Mike. Planning the expedition is always nice. Here it's too cold. It's minus, it's like minus 15 right now. So it's not very far from 0 Fahrenheit. It's about 5 Fahrenheit, It's really cold. We had some warm temperatures, then it came back cold today. So, what do we have? Jill says, have you ever dropped a radio scanner, Ed, and what happened? I remember my first scanner ever bought and lent it to a friend, and he dropped it. One button didn't work. I always. So PLF Radio says Eshe Data D808 60 euros. Transit Radio says D808 69.98. No, not too expensive. I need to get one of those. I'll have to get one of those. So yes, I probably dropped every single good radio that I have. The one that hurt me the most when I dropped it was my ICOM ICR 20. And one of the bad things about the ICR20 is they put the screen here is it's a little outward. The screen is actually pushed a little bit outward here. And if you bump it across something, it's gonna scratch. So I was at the where was I? I was at a local park next to the Prairie River, and I was walking around, tuning around the frequencies, and the antenna, because I had extended my antenna here. The antenna. Oh, this is annoying. I'm sorry, guys. So the antenna was actually there was a tree branch, and what happened is that the tree branch hit the branch, and it made me drop the radio to the ground, which was a gravel road, and it fell really flat on the screen surface, which of course did scratch it a little bit, but mostly it was like, oh no, dropped it. Is it still gonna work? And it did, but it was like I probably dropped every single radio that I've used regularly. I'm a little clumsy, so it's kind of dropped. I'm just gonna try to fix something here, because I see that it's doing that, and I think I can fix it by doing a little something with a piece of paper here. Let me just find where it is. So where's that? Oh, that's not too bad. So I'm gonna put this over here, and I think, here we go, fix the problem with a sheet of paper. So I probably dropped every radio, and it's like you guys probably have done the same thing. It's exactly the same thing as dropping your cell phone, your smartphone, for the first time. The first thing that happens is your heart races, and you think you're going to have a heart attack, because it's like, oh my God, I hope it's not broken. And then you pick it up, and it's like, oh, it still works, thank God. So it's same thing, but I've dropped almost every radio, I can tell you that. Really crazy. Bobby Burgess says 70 seconds behind on the clock. The clock, by the way, which is set really precisely. I always set it with WWV before we start the show, so it's pretty good. Bobby Burgess, 17 seconds behind. We have MDK2, 9.5 seconds. That's not bad at all for a streaming. Gotta tell you that. Neil Toombs, nice to have you here. KC9KUH, his favorite portable old Ethon G5. Oh, I got a Grendic G5, same radio. Amazing radio. My best portable, I gotta say. My best portable. Totally. Driver Film Shortwave, nice to have you here. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board. Ernie Turner, nice to have you on board from Australia. Pretty cool to have everybody here. If I miss out on a question, yes, I did see it, Jerry, the video on the RS928. Totally forgot about that. Hook, Line, and Sinker has 270s vintage radios on sale from Midland. Huh. But Southern Illinois Sand says computers decode and code Morse code. But it's more than that. You know what? New modes like FT8 are actually showing the capabilities of technology and showing that they're actually better in low noise than even Morse code and a human. It's pretty amazing. So it's pretty cool. So Ernie Turner, VK3DET, nice to have you on board from Australia. What else do we have? So, really, Oxford Shortwave been testing the XH data D808. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Tree Hugger says own both a realistic DX150 and 160. Just nice. So, oh really? The ISS, I should check it out. I should check out if we can see the International Space Station. I just need to look at. It's 130 dot something, eh? To check it out here. Thanks for the donations, by the way, guys. The International Space Station will be on. International Space Station 1606. So it just crossed. I just missed the pass. There's another one at 5:43. Not fast enough reading the chat room. I'm sorry, guys. So Danny, Shortwave Radio DX from Yonkers, New York. Nice to have you on board. Always nice to have everybody. And yep, no problem, TOT. No problem. Yeah, it's actually y'all want to see the card. That's the problem. The restaurants are like this. When you order for credit for food here in Montreal, if you say you're gonna pay with a credit card, they want to have you put that card in that machine. It's like, or else, I don't know, they're scared of being, having problems. So, Vienna says, same here, -15. Yeah, you're east. The east part. Hey, 109 people watching. Nice. I like it when I cross 100 barrier. More than 100 is kind of cool. And there's, I had a highlight on the tech channel Tuesday. We reached 50 for the first time. So I guess it's kind of nice. Okay, Driver Film says he's dropped his Baofeng G3 a few times. Seems to bounce quite well. Yeah, they bounce, but you know what? It shows us one thing. Electronics is really tough. Because, I mean, so many times I drop radios. Everything flies apart. The cover, the batteries fly everywhere. You know, the hardest part when you drop a portable radio and it has AA batteries is finding all the batteries. It's like there's always one missing. It's like, okay, I found 3 out of 4 AA batteries. Where the hell's the other one? And you can't see it. It's like, that's the biggest problem. I remember dropping my Texan PL680 at Perry Island. Batteries fly everywhere. And thank God they were alkaline batteries and not rechargeables. And I've never found the 4 AA. I found 3 out of 4, and I said, man, there's a battery somewhere, and I can't find it. And I had to go in my bag and put 4 batteries, because it's like, I got 3, but I lost the 4th one, and I don't know where it is. And I never did find it. So, Andrea the Extra says, dropped on Eton E5 a few times, eventually the whip antenna popped out. Whoops. Yeah. The whip antenna is probably a weak link in a lot of portables because, the radios are all encased in plastic. So very often, what stops the antenna from actually getting out very often is just plastic tabs within the radio. These are easy to break. So, Chris Freitas said, just go down slowly. Memphis is on the late winter up and down weather roller coaster. 2 days ago 70, today barely 40. Wow. Danny Shortwave says we'll do a video show soon. Just mounted the MFJ 1886 loop. Very impressed with the reception on medium wave and shortwave. Even some long wave signals. That's interesting. Maybe that's what I need to get. Oh man. What else do we have? Cosmic Lettuce says 10-second delay. Pretty nice. Cool. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Richard says 7780 coming in 20 dB in the UK. Vianney says US Air Force. Let's check it out. 11175. We'll stay there a little bit, see if we can hear some of the US Air Force stuff. What else do we have? What else do we have? Just looking at everybody. If I miss out on anyone, please say hello. If I miss out on a question, don't forget to say hi. So yeah, it's too late. It's not up there anymore. Pierre Alfredo says, "Can you imagine dropping an iPhone 10?" Oh man, I've dropped every phone I had. I've dropped my Galaxy S7 2 days after I had it, and I still didn't have a case. I still hadn't received this case, so it was bare. And I was really lucky because the problem with this phone is that you can crack the back and you can crack the front, and it was intact except for a little something in the corner here. So and I'm happy to have purchased this Bullet. This is called the Bullet. It's a brushed metal case with a the interior is a made of rubber, and with the casing I dropped it at least 10 times. Thank God the casing has saved my phone many times. Hey, Juan Amigo, nice to have you on board. So it's pretty cool. You know, dropping is always something like, Cosmic Lettuce says, "We need more passionate and very awesome shows like this. Keep up the great work." Thank you very much, Cosmic Lettuce. You know, that's why I do these shows. Randy Hartley, hello there, nice to have you here. And I'll just promote myself a little bit. If you want to help me out, you can send me a donation at paypal.me/shortwave, or you can send it to the Yahoo email if it doesn't work, because sometimes some of you can't reach that page. It's a great way to support me, PayPal. You can also go to patreon.com/radio and computers, but I prefer PayPal. Patreon is a little tricky sometimes, and some people might not set it up right. I'm trying to reach out here to anybody that watches my show regularly and have never donated. Why not? You know, if you like what I do, if you like the shows, and obviously there's a lot of people that watch. Every live show gets more than 1,000 views after 48 hours. I guess it means that somewhere I'm doing something right. That somewhere a lot of people like what I do. But, if you've never donated, you like what I do, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, not counting it takes money. You know, you gotta buy equipment, you gotta upgrade your equipment. I need a new laptop that I'm soon to purchase. It's something that I need to do, because if I want to continue, you gotta have all the equipment required. And I take a lot of time, devoted a lot of my time to do this. It's pretty much my job, my work job. It's like I have the honor of being able to do this as my job, which is kind of cool. And it's thanks to not just YouTube monetization, it's thanks to people that donate. And I want to thank everybody that has helped me over the last 2 years. Without your donations, I wouldn't be here. I would not have been able to continue. And I want to thank everybody that have donated. And last but not least, I know not everybody can donate, and it's all right. Okay, we're at an hour and 23 minutes into the show. Time's going fast. We're Friday. I'm lost. I with all that happened this week, I woke up this morning, and the first thing I thought was like, is it Saturday? No, it's Friday. It's not Saturday. It's Friday today. I was kind of a little off here. No problem, Cosmic Lettuce. Everything is good. Some people sometimes will send me a little very small donation and say, well, it ain't much, I'm really sorry. It's like, it doesn't matter, just being a donator is cool. If everybody watching would give me just a very small little, like I always say, everybody watching would give me $1. It's nothing for most people, and because of the amount of people watching, it would be a nice amount. you know, and every amount helps, and that's the important thing. And I don't want anybody to feel bad when they, you know, give a small amount. I can tell you that. Yeah, but the ISS isn't overhead, Jerry, so I can't receive it if it's not over my head. There's some communications from the U.S. Air Force, 11175 and or 8992 or what is it, 6754? No, that's like 730. What's the frequency in the 6 megahertz? I forgot about it. There it is. There was something on 11175. Yeah, it's narrow mode, narrow FM for the ISS. It's not wide FM, it's narrow FM for the International Space Station. What is there? Cool, Randy. Nice to have you on board for a very long time. And yeah, Ernie Turner has a great idea also. Don't forget to give a thumbs up to the show. For sure. I'm running Wirecast, Cosmic Lettuce. It's Wirecast is a paid piece of software that is very professional type software for live broadcasts. So I am really using Wirecast on the laptop. So it's and if because there's 2 levels of I paid for the first license, but if I pay for the full license, there's tons of, you know, like transitions using 3 or 4 cameras, which is the next step that I'd like to do. Maybe is get another camera and do transitions. So if I, for example, what I'd like to do is I watch the camera here, I'm doing the show, we're talking, the what you see here, you know, I have the chat in front of me so I can look at the camera kind of, but have another camera so when we're doing like, okay, let's do something on this DR, I could switch camera and we'd be here and you see my face at a different angle. That's in the project sometime this year for sure. So so for live shows, it's Wirecast that I use. And the K2 says, I remember stumbling across a mention of your show on Facebook, and I found the IRC chat, but was puzzled why everyone was talking to Gilles, but he wasn't answering. Yeah, the IRC chat. You know, we used to be in the IRC chat before when Hangouts was the thing. You know, the first live shows were done Hangouts. By the way, OBS I use for recording, for screen recording. So when I do my videos recording the screen, I use OBS Studio. But for the broadcast, the live shows, I use Wirecast. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, but you can't hear the International Space Station if it's not over your head. That's what I'm trying to find here. Mike DX is listening on an AOR 8200 MK3 Diamond D130 discount. My discount is bad. The discount I have, pretty crazy. That is Yeah, that's why when I actually started doing live shows, I changed my internet service provider speeds. Because to upload 1080p HD video, you gotta have a fast connection. And don't forget, guys, anybody that wants to do live shows, 4720. Thanks for the frequencies, Vianney. I'm gonna mention them again. So, basically, the router is a very important factor also in live streaming. I noticed that when I got to the TP-Link AC1750 router, the stream was much better than my Linksys router. I had a pretty good Linksys router before, but that's when you see that some routers are so much better at doing things than others. And my live streams are so much better and clearer and have much less dropouts since I purchased the TP-Link 1750, which is much better in performance for live streaming. What else do we have? J.D. Williamson, nice to have you here. So the frequencies for the U.S. Air Force, thanks to Vianney Astano, 4724, 6739, 8892, 11175, 13200, not 600, 13200, that one I know, and 15016. They're all in upper sideband. So, what else do we have? What else do we have? IRC chat is for me, IRC is an old way of doing things. I remember being on the IRC chat for Montreal in the late 90s and talking with people and then meeting up at get-togethers. We'd do some GTs and get-togethers at bars or at restaurants and be a gang talking about the name PLF Radio XSplit tells me something, but I'm not. Well, at least I knew that one, Vianney. 13. I know it. 13 on 13 megahertz. I knew it by heart. It was 13200, but just crazy. Yeah, when the International Space Station is overhead, it's cool to listen to the communications when they do things, but it has to be over your area at a certain time in order to be listenable. I used to have a lot of fun on the IRC chat. I remember one of the interesting moments of IRC. I remember being on a chat. Actually, on IRC what's also fun is that you can create your own channel easily and wait. I would do that a lot in the 80s. And basically what I would like to do often is just create some channel on IRC, subject, whatever, and stay there and see if somebody, and some people would just stumble across it somehow. And I remember one of the things that I'll always remember of IRC was back in I would guess it was 1998. I was on a IRC channel alone, or maybe I was on a channel with others. I think I was on a channel with others. And I started talking to a guy in Norway. And I remember because it was New Year's Eve, for one of the rare things. It was one of the New Year's Eve, I had nothing, to do. And I started talking about that guy in Norway. When he started talking about weather, and he was amazed at how cold here it can be. And it was just kind of fascinating. I was like, wow, just incredible, with your... And, back in 1998, 97, the internet is fascinating because it's the first time that you communicate around the world and so easily. And, at that period, today we're kind of used to it. Today is like, I do these live shows on YouTube and people around the world are watching. We kind of are spoiled. But back in 1997, 98, it's just like crazy. It's just like, whoa, man, we're talking to other people around the world. This is so crazy. I'll tell you that. So, Pilaf Radio says, streamers on Twitch use OBS and or XSplit. Yeah. I use, the reason I use Wirecast, honestly, is because Wirecast is more professional. And because I aspire to have more professional stuff eventually, that's why I kind of jumped on the Wirecast thing. It's easy and it works with tons of platforms. It's just that it has really a lot of things that you can easily do, multiple cams and all sorts of things in a very, very interesting way. So that's why I've used that one. But I'm open. I'll take a look at other things. And sometimes it's fun to have different choices depending on what you do. J.D. Williamson says never cared much about IRC. Yeah, it's not everybody. IRC is not much about everybody, I can tell you that. Wonder if I can get Pyongyang, Richard. 6400. Let's check it out. There's really nothing much here. Really nothing at all, actually. Look at that DRM signal. No, that's Radio Romania. Radio Romania, 6170 in English.
I'm Pretty Amadescu, and next we'll bring you more details about the Foreign Minister's statement in this report by Roxana Vasile. Romania and Poland are against making the disbursement of European funds to member states conditional on the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary in those respective countries, the two foreign ministers said in a joint statement made.
Mark Brando, welcome aboard. And yes, 6712 and 10780 are still active from what I know, but they are kind of secondary frequencies, so they're not used all the time. The ones we mentioned earlier were the ones that are used for the major global HF broadcasts. But 6712 and 10780, I believe from a list that I've seen not that long ago, they are still in use, but really are, kind of secondary frequencies, so they're not always being used. That's pretty much what I think. So, Tyler Salisbury, nice to have you on board from Missouri. You need at least 6 megabits per second for 1080p, 25 megabits for 4K. I know that Charter Spectrum US use Netgear and Sagecom routers. HT&T uses Verse, uses Aris, Netgear routers. That's why I've got, right now I've got 120 down, 20 up. And I'd say here, if I look at, Wirecast actually tells me my output. So I'm going to tell you guys, right now, Wirecast tells me that I'm outputting 4,000 kilobits per second. So it's 4 megabits per second. So I'm anywhere from 3,500 to 4,700 kilobits per second of output right now. So that is for 1080p. And so imagine for 4K it's worse. I'm not sure I'm going to do 4K for a little while. Dan805, nice to have you on board for North Carolina. Cool. So Rich Hill says, please post your PayPal as a clickable link. Well, you know what? The biggest problem is that the links are kind of broken on let's try this. Okay. So the links are kind of broken on the chat room. So if I post it, it might not work. I'm going to post it right now as a clickable link. So here goes. I don't know if it's going to work. If it does, let me click. It works here. No, page doesn't exist, tells me. So that's weird. Oh, because it adds characters. That's the thing. It doesn't work because there's these damn characters. But if you click that link, paypal.me/shortwave, and said it doesn't work, remove the extra weird characters next to the slash. So remove everything that is after the slash on shortwave, and it's going to work. You know, I hate the chat for that because it doesn't work with links very well. So you can either type it or just go to the Yahoo email. Driver Film says nice signal on is DX200. Cool, that's pretty cool. Matt UK, RRI 6170, nice signal in the UK. Cool. 73 is Mike DX. It was nice to have you on board. Vienna Arsenal 6170, much better signal with horizontal antenna. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So yeah, Dan805. It's actually a Sony TV. It's a Sony HD TV that that was in the bedroom, and I don't use it because I don't watch TV in the bedroom. Never. It's, you know, something I don't do. So I thought, you know what? Instead of having a TV that doesn't do nothing, why not put it here and do the shows from here and have all the possibilities from here? I think that is a much better use, basically. Blanchard 3, nice to have you on board. Blanchard 03, pretty cool. Tucker Geek says, why do I hear the same hams on 12 meters and 80 meters at the same time with the RTL SDR? That is one problem with the RTL SDR. It suffers from image problems. So Tucker Geek, what happens with the radio is that depending on its capabilities, sometimes it will suffer what we call an image. So at a certain multiplication, depending on the electronics of the device, you might hear a signal on a frequency that it's not supposed to be in. So basically, it's part of the RTL SDR basic design. You're hearing an image. Now make sure that you're not pushing the RF gain too far also, because that also will increase the amount of images everywhere. But it is part of the basic design of the RTL SDR. I have the same thing. If I use just the little soft 66 that I had I think it was the 20 meter hams being received in reverse on the upper part of the 10 meter band. So I would hear the same amps as the 14 megahertz in the 10 megahertz range. But in lower sideband, it was kind of a reversed signal. And that's part of the basic design of RTL SDRs. They are, that's probably, if you have one problem with an RTL SDR, image rejection is not very good. The more expensive devices actually do a better job, like the ephedry. But it's part of using an RTL SDR. That's why you've got these images showing up on the upper part. So it's really, you know, it's part of the design, basically. Take care, Dexpara74. No shortwave show tomorrow. We'll be back next week with 2 shows, Friday and Saturday. So next week is 2 shows. Tomorrow I'm off, and I'm going to complete the transition of my office here. So next Friday's show, I'm going to be really clean installed here. Everything's going to be really nice and clean and beautiful. And the pirate flag will be much more visible. So take care, and see you next week, Friday at 2000 hours UTC. So what else? do we have? TOT says, Jill, any more videos about your antenna setup, showing wiring, connections? Love to see that. Yeah, I need to absolutely do that, and I will. You know what? We'll wait till the temperature gets better, because right now it's not really the best temperatures to go outside and show the different connections and different things. But in the next few weeks, you know, temperature will get better and everything. I will do more on showing you guys what all my antennas set up and everything, for sure, absolutely, for sure. What else do we have? Bought anything new? Not really, except for the they were offered to me by a generous donator. No show tomorrow at PLF Radio. Nope. And by the way, I will be posting later tonight. It's almost complete. The video with the full schedule of the month of February. I wanted to post it up yesterday, and I did not know about it. Didn't have the time, and I kind of did it partially. So I will be posting the full schedule later tonight. Bonjour, hi Sheldon. Nice to have you on board. Hey, Radioactive. Nice to have you here. So Sheldon from Greenville Park, Quebec. Nice to have everybody on board. So we've got Radio Romania 6170 with a good signal.
On this topic until February the 23rd. People are invited to fill in online questionnaires, which will be used to compile data about fake news. There are two types of questionnaires. One of the
Talking about radio signals yesterday, yesterday evening, around 0100 UT, I had a fantastic signal from HCJB Quito, Ecuador. The only frequency direct from Ecuador still available, 6050 kilohertz. Was coming in with a good signal, and it was really good because for a full hour, they had some really beautiful Ecuadorian music. You know what? I just closed my eyes for a second, and I had the impression of listening to HCJB back in the 90s or when I was younger. It was really, really nice, and it was pretty strong. I was amazed. It made it really well yesterday. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to have HCJB yesterday. So you know. JD Wilson, you know what? Plasma TVs are the worst for shortwave radio. I can tell you that. This one is not a plasma. This is an LCD backlit display. About 10 years old. This is a 10-year-old TV, but it doesn't create any noise, and it's I like it for that. My 50-inch TV in the living room, I'm surprised at how low noise it's actually creating also. So it's pretty cool. Rock Ristorante says 6170 S9 Plus in Sweden. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. No, I have not, Sheldon. And can you give me a little bit of details about the Bouvet Island Amateur Radio the Expedition? I'd like to share that with everybody. I did not talk about it today. And I did see something go through earlier. But if you have details, if you can post a link, would be nice. Really nice. Philip Jones, nice to have you here on a Texan PL 380, which is a pretty nice radio. I gotta say, for the price, it's pretty cool. Bobby says, what about LED TVs? Well, my 50-inch in the living room is a LED TV. It doesn't make any noise. But I gotta say, even though it doesn't make noise, I think that's a TV, you know, it's really a TV. Each model is different. Okay, link works, but remember guys, remove all the extra characters after the org/. So Bouvet DX 3Y0Z Bouvet Island, the expedition 2018, the most remote island on Earth. So let's see here. They are going to want to. Where is Bouvet Island? Wow, this is. I didn't even know about that island before this the expedition. It's a very, very small little thing, not far from Antarctica in the South Atlantic Ocean. Let's check that out. Anything else? Have they had any other news about what's going to happen? Together with Nigel Jolly, we have found an alternate ship which helps us. You can read full story press release number 5 on the news. So let's check it out here. So the island of Bouvet is really a remote. It looks like an Antarctic island. Cold, isolated, seldom visited by man, the most isolated island on Earth. Bouvet lies 54 degrees, 25 minutes south, 3 degrees, 22 minutes east. It's the product of a volcanic eruption that last occurred in 4000 BC. 97% ice covered. Surrounding rocks, small islands. Wow. This is crazy. This is crazy. So it became a natural reserve in 1971. This is nice. This is nice. Okay, so band plan frequencies, news and updates. Like, let's check news and updates. So in the news and updates, February 1st, news and update. Our ship is still at anchor off the east side of Bouvet. Winds are 35-40 knots. Ship is pitching and rolling 30 degrees. Woo. This makes flying and a landing attempt impossible today. Temperature is hovering around 0 degrees. Visibility has improved. We are poised and ready. When a weather window opens, we had our maritime mobile station up for a few hours, but had to take it down again to avoid damage caused by the extreme motion of the ship. So, wow, conditions are bad there. Really bad. But they want to, okay, so what's the frequencies that are going to use? Let's check that out. Command plan frequencies. So it says here that they want to operate on pretty much all of the different bands in every mode, CW, SSB, or radio teletype, and FT8. So you guys that go to the website, check out the upper right corner select page. There's a 3 little hamburger menu. You click there, there's the full details will actually open up. You have the frequencies they want to operate on and everything, 3Y0Z. I think this is going to be an amazingly cool thing to listen to. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Sheldon, by the way. And this is going to be really, really cool. Really, really cool. Jerry says getting a 4K, big game on Sunday. Yeah, I'll be at my brother's. We're going to watch that on at my brother's. I'll be drinking beer, eating chicken wings like crazy, and I can tell you, really amazing. Really amazing. So, you know, I think that Tyler Sarisbury says his 4K TV in his room creates so much noise for being LED. You know what? I think it's the design of the TV. I don't think it's the fact that it's an LED or not. I think it's really the fact that some TVs just make a lot of noise compared to others. I can tell you that. Yeah, computer power supplies are bad for that for sure. So, but you know, my in my living room, it's a what I have is a 50-inch Toshiba TV, very quiet. This Sony TV is very quiet, but I'm sure there are some really noisy TVs out there. That's for sure. Nicolas Milnes, nice to have you on board. Says, what's happening in the bands? I don't know. Have this afternoon weird water patterns and weird noises on the bands. I wouldn't be surprised that maybe you have some kind of local interference. Let's check out the 40-meter band here.
Thank you very much for the call, sir. You're 5 by 7. We copy you 57. Echo, Sam, Zulu, Echo, November. So that's all I have. How copy?
So there's some station that's kind of interesting there. The meter seems to be not too bad. A little bit of noise for me, but not too bad of a band. KC9QH says 3Y0X, that's $1 million expedition, if not more. Pretty amazing. Well, it's one of those places on Earth, cosmic letters, that I think is very, very, very isolated. I gotta say, from what I see here, there's nothing there. There's no official and
S9, beautiful copy. We do not have a Q in November, but we have a Q in Becker, you know. So that's the difference between you guys over there in Georgia and us here in Canada. You know, we're about 12 inches of snow and temperature -8 Celsius. -8 Celsius. Dave, you have a beautiful signal. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. And I'd like to wish you a very happy weekend to you and your family. All the best, sir. A wonderful evening and good luck, and I'm sure we'll meet again. Kilo 4, good evening, David.
VA3, oh. It's an Ontario station on 7298018. Victor America 3. It's an Ontario station. Montreal Canada says, Joe, medium wind conditions has been strong the last 2 nights. USA and Canada stations here in the UK. Are you going to try to medium wave DXing tonight? I know you said you get a lot of noise on medium wave at home. You know what? I will try it because yesterday I had a portable, my little portable Eton Traveler 3, and it was right here in the window. And I started tuning medium wave frequencies and was kind of impressed because it was very quiet and very amazing. And you know what? I think it might be a good idea to try it out. Not yet because the sun is setting in a few minutes, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it tonight. Maybe post a few videos. Why not? I haven't done a lot of videos on medium wave. I'm going to try a few videos of doing some medium wave DXing tonight. Hirofumi Yokoyama. Nice to have you on board from Tokyo, from Japan. And I'd like my nephew Gabriel to be here because he would pronounce your name perfectly. He took some Japanese courses, and I know he would actually just mention your name perfectly, as it should be. So thanks, welcome aboard from Japan. Always nice to have you here. So pretty cool. So what else do we have? So you know, Rich Hill, go to your PayPal account. Okay, go into your PayPal account, and from there, if you want to give a donation, because you can't from the Shortwave, the PayPal.me/Shortwave, just send the money to the Yahoo email that I just posted in the chat. Okay, just send the money to that Yahoo email, and it's the same account anyways. It's gonna work, because I know a lot of people can't. For some reason, a lot of people can't get to the link. Especially in the chat with all the extra characters. And thanks, by the way, for the donations, everybody. Much welcome. Sheldon says, last Bouvet Island activation was 3Y0E during a scientific expedition over the winter of 2007-2008, so it's more than 10 years ago. Second most south after amateur radio country by amateur radio operators. You know what? I think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that. And I'm going to tell you guys, if I get that station, I will post a video for sure. That is going to be impressive. This is so much fun. You know, I was talking earlier about amateur radio, how it's nice and how it's great and how it has so much possibilities. Well, that's exactly one thing that I want to mention. There's so much nice possibilities that, you know, the expedition, some people that have, you know, that have the possibility to do this. If I'd be a millionaire, I would be one of those guys that'd like to, you know, multi-millionaire, I would be one of those guys that would like to, for the fun of it, rent, you know, airtime over Madagascar or whatever and do some DX broadcasts. I would like to do that. That would be the fun that I would have, and I would give fun, you know, and these guys, they have a lot of fun doing these things. It's remote, it's cool, and there's a lot of fun in the community itself. But, you know, the expeditions are amazing. Amazing. You know, C9KUH says 3 years in the making. Wow. You know, these things take a lot of time. You gotta, especially an island like that does not have, you know, you can't just call up and say, hey, I want to have a boat to Bouvet Island tomorrow. Can somebody spare me a little space? No, they're going to say, what? They're first they're going to say, what island? And then they're going to say, well, because we don't go there. So you got to find something that's going to help to have you go there, you know, and that will cost money because pretty much everybody will just say, hey, I'll bring you there if you want, but it's going to cost you, man, you know. A 30-meter vertical and 160 meters, says Rick Ristorante. Wow. Take care, Ernie Turner. Always nice to have you on board. Man. Man. Mr. Streetman, 1970. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Will I ID these ham stations, the ones here? Well, there was a V83. That's what I tried doing. I didn't get all of the call, but it was a V83 station there. But I like to, pretty much everybody I listen to on the amateur bands, I like to have their calls and kind of be able to, you know, tell everybody, oh, that's the station from that, you know, and no, because it's always, it's okay to listen to AM stations. It's better to know their calls and where they are, which I always like. Vianney says, I know this guy probably from Ontario. You know, it's funny because he got a little accent in his English. And for a moment there, I listened because I didn't think it was from Ontario. I thought it was one of those Europeans or something because the accent was, for me, not familiar. It was like, oh, kind of interesting. I'm going to listen to, you know, where that guy is. But, well, you know, that's the other side of DXing. Sometimes you're listening for a long time to a signal and you're like, oh man, you know, exotic sounds like I've never heard before anything. And then you just listen in and this guy says, yeah, I'm from Quebec. And it's like, huh, okay, so he's in my province. You know, so you're all hyped up because you think you got this rare DX thing. And then suddenly he says, well, from Ontario. Oh, okay. That's okay. I was just not expecting that you're from Ontario. But, you know, it's part of, there's a positive side where you listen in and you're like, wow, there's all of these signals from, you know, exotic places. And sometimes you have this person with a little accent, a little something, and you're like, okay. So finally he's like, okay, my next door neighbor. Huh, okay. But it's okay. I mean, that's part of, you know, the show, part of listening. So yeah, I'm going to do that, Mag Radio the Extra. Absolutely. I promise. I will be checking out the medium wave bands tonight. I did a lot of medium wave listening, actually, with the little portables. Because a few nights I, you know, started listening to Shortwave. And with the low maximum usable frequency and the high noise that I got here, there's been a few nights where I haven't been able to listen really well. And so what happened is I got to the medium wave band, and you know what? One of the things that's interesting, I had this, if you guys remember, I had this really high noise buzzing in the medium wave band. In the past few weeks, it's not there. I don't know if they retired the whatever that was doing that noise, but I've got a much better signal, much better, much lower noise on the medium wave band in the past few weeks. And you know what? Maybe it's time to do some medium wave loggings and medium wave tuning. So tonight, I promised Andrew DXer I will be doing a scan, a slow scan. Might be multiple videos so that they're not too long, but I will be doing scans of the medium wave frequencies. And I'm going to have fun with that tonight. I think it's going to be fun to do it. So, what else do we have? Tyler Salisbury says, well, the TV does have a problem with the color, with clipping in red, greens, blues, and whites. Okay, you know, TVs are not all made equally. Gotta remember that. Canadian medium wave stations. Yeah, I do get a few medium wave stations from Toronto. But, you know, I need to do one thing that I don't do. I'm a guy that doesn't have a lot of patience, okay? I am the kind of guy that's gotta work, because I'm not gonna spend 3 hours having it working. And medium wave DXing, and you know, in some way needs to, it's one of the things that you need to sometimes be patient. There was a very, very good article in the Spectrum Monitor. It was like October of last year or something. And it was an article about a guy that loves medium wave DXing. And what he does, you know, when you go on medium wave, you have these really high power frequency where you always have that dominant station, and that's it. But that guy, what he does is he goes on to one of those frequencies that you tune in, and there's like 20 stations together, and it's like, it's a mishmash of noise, of words, of music, of whatever. Well, that guy, what he does, he sits down and he leaves it there for hours, getting the different stations coming in and out, adjusting the, you know, the radio itself, because, you know, medium wave has direction finding a little bit thanks to the, you know, ferrite antenna inside the radios. And he was showing how he was really DXing the band because he took the time to just sit down and listen and leave it there. And I need to do that. I need to, you know, I don't know, take a Prozac or something and just relax. Maybe take a lot of beers or something. But, you know, I don't have that patience. When I'm on a frequency with tons of noise and tons of stations, I need to take the time to just listen. And it's like, oh, there's that little signal from whatever. And I really need to take more time for that. Richard says, my radio's picking up with my tablet on medium wave. Yeah, well, it's one of those you know, oscillators inside the tablet for sure. For sure. Sheldon says Bouvet Island is an uninhabited island, and it's a dependency of Norway. Oh, that's interesting. Very opposite. Dependency of Norway, located in the South Atlantic Ocean, 2,600 kilometers southwest of South Africa, 1,700 kilometers north of Antarctica. Amazing. These little islands there. So Norway owns the island, technically. VK2FBAJ, nice to have you here. Mickey Dalmash says you can send shortwave reports if you want to QSL3YOE. So cool. Nice to have you on board from Sydney, Australia, my friend. Really cool. Well, you know what? We're going to wait a little bit because it's still clear outside. And if I look at, let's look at 1010 kilohertz for the fun of it. let's bring down this. It's like really, well, still rather weak right now. Hey, HDR, I crashed HDSDR by putting the volume at 0. Okay, I'm just going to do one thing here because I know that when it crashes, I got to unplug the ephedrine and restart it. So you guys have seen a HDSDR crash live, which is always something you don't want to have, but it happens. So, okay, this is back. Let's try to bring back HDSDR. If I can find it somewhere in these millions of icons. Oh god, I need to clean up this thing and really do. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So here we are. We're back to normal. So Boston was on 10:30. Yeah, it's starting to come in. This is Boston. So we'll wait a little bit and we'll try one of those scans because there's I think it's a little early for a scan right now, but how's that? 1060. I got a lot of buzzing going on right now, so I don't know. We'll try to do one. Kimberly. Tyler Salisbury says KMOX 1120. I've heard that one. I've heard that one for sure. Richard, you got Romania on 153 long wave. Wow, that's crazy. I've never heard that, and I'm not gonna hear that here for sure. Let's see on the long wave band what I got here. Buzzing. I got the airport beacon on 248 kilohertz. YUL. But look at all the noise. Look at that. Look at all the noise I got in the band there. And I've got... I got ZHU. What's that? ZHU? No, these are long wave beacons. Oh man. You know what? I haven't drank beer in 2 weeks, and I just drank 2 Fins du Monde, and I feel like I'm really drunk. This is crazy. I guess when you don't drink a lot, maybe, you know. Bobby says had a couple of medium wave stations from Mexico. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. KC9QH. Yeah, PayPal is well. PayPal was in trouble because they eBay had kind of separated from PayPal a couple of years back, and now they're going to use a different payment system. But the problem is, PayPal is not in trouble right now because Amazon has a contract with PayPal for that goes up to 2023. So PayPal will be there until 2023, and who knows in 2023 what we'll be using to pay our stuff anyways. But PayPal is kind of on the way out. What else do we have? Tyler Surgery says HDSDR crashes all the time for me. Oh, really? I rarely have a crash. And you've seen how many times I've used it in the live shows and everything. It almost never crashes. But sometimes you do this little something like move the volume to 0 or whatever. Sheldon says 252 is Algeria, not Albania. Okay, it's Algeria. Ah. Thanks. PLF Radio says on 252 I have Shane 3 from Algeria. Yeah, that's it. Hey, Fastload. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. So, what else do we have here? Okay. So nice to have all of you here. I'm just going to change something here because I've noticed I moved out. Okay, so you're watching the Shortwave live show. We're at 2 hours and 14 minutes into the show. Pretty amazing. And it's pretty cool to see everybody here. Okay, we'll tune a little bit. How about tuning a little bit of bands? I want to just check out what we can hear. I'm going to use EIBI Space as a little list of frequencies. We're going to check out what is going to be here. So EIBI Space. And let's tune around the bands. Let's check out. We're going to start at, I don't know, 12 megahertz. And let's go down and see what's in the bands here. So anything here, 25 meter band, kind of quiet. What's here? I've not got a lot of stuff in here. Go down. It's what's cool with the SDR, as you can see what's, while the higher frequencies are already very, very quiet in my location. Okay, let's just put the let's see here. This is 9350. There's I believe WWCR. So 9350 is WWCR, right? Yep, it is. In Nashville, Tennessee. I think it's Richard Cook that asked me if I heard CHU on 7850, by the way. 7850 is not a frequency I hear very often from CHU. Because I'm close, a lot of the signals from CHU is actually jumping over me. So, Richard's got Spain on 15500. Wow. Wow. Nikki Dalmash says, received a QSL letter from RUV Iceland, 189 kilohertz yesterday. 434 days, wow. You know what? This is the station where you're like, okay, I'm never going to receive a reply from them. And then someday, you open your mailbox and you're like, man, I got that letter. It reminds me of the DXE when I was younger, and like, you know, so many stations. I remember those African stations. They would take ages to answer any letter and any QSL requests, if they did at all. And I remember so many of them took like a year and a half, and you're like, wow. When you get it, you're so happy. Like, you know what, Nikki, that QSL, I'm sure, is one of those really prized cards that you cherish. And I've got a lot of them in my collection here, from African stations, from different utilities, that you're like, man, I got one. You know, the story I always like to talk about, you know, it's February, and February always reminds me of Voice of Nigeria. And the reason why is because when I was younger, my friend, one of my best friends, still best friend today, had a DS100, because when he came home and he saw I had a shortwave radio and I could hear the world, he was amazed, and he told his parents, oh, this is so cool, I want one of those radios. And he started listening to shortwave with me. So Story begins in the month of June. Hot summer June day. We are listening to Voice of Nigeria. And I tell him, hey, let's write a reception report together, and we'll put it in the mail, in the same mailbox together on the same day, and see if we receive a card on the same day together. So do the reception report. We next day go to the post office, send a letter to Voice of Nigeria, whatever address I had back then. And we're 1983, around 1983. So that's June. Usual life continues and everything. 1 February, so the next February 84, there's a snowstorm. And that's why I remember Voice of Nigeria QSL. Part of it is because there's a big snowstorm outside. I go to the mailbox, and there's this big envelope. One of them, in the envelope, there's a QSL card from Voice of Nigeria and a magazine from Nigeria, which I'm amazed because I'm like, wow, okay. So I call on my friend. It's like, hey, you got anything in the mail today? He says, no. Oh, okay, well, remember when we did that reception report for Voice of Nigeria back in June? He says, yeah, I remember. Well, I got a card in a magazine in the mail today. And it's funny because he's never received anything. And he was so mad because he was always telling me, well, you got that QSL from Nigeria and I didn't get anything. I'm going to send him a letter to let him know what I think. And it's like, man, it's just chance. There's a possibility my letter went there, arrived there, and his didn't. There's a possibility that the return never got to his place and it got to mine. There's so many things that can go wrong in the mail. And it's just so funny because that QSL is a priced QSL. It took, from June to February, it's like, 8 months? It's beautiful QSL. I remember it's the Lagos airport, I believe, international airport. It's a beautiful card. And, it's one of those things that you're like, you always remember for the rest of your life. One of those beautiful, super cool moments of radio-related, memorabilia, if you want. And it was just so much fun. But I remember he was so mad I didn't get a QSL card. It's just, part of the fun. Part of the fun. Oh, man. What else do we have? Bobby Weir says, earlier you said that low solar flux has big impact on higher frequencies on shortwave. Yes, it does, because think of the solar flux as being a measurement of the amount of energy that the sun outputs. Okay? So the higher the number, the more energy the sun will be sending out. So it means the ionosphere, that is about 100 kilometers up, will be ionized more and will support higher frequencies. One of the first aspects of a lower solar flux, lower solar activity, is that very often above 20 megahertz, you'll see that these frequencies might not always propagate well. It doesn't mean that it will never, and it doesn't mean you got to stop listening there. It's very important that there's other phenomena that might make these frequencies propagate. And you know what? I've seen the 10 meter band open with a solar flux of barely 80, 85. So it doesn't need that much to actually work. But we will have less activity in the higher bands in general when solar activity is lower, pretty much. But listen in. You never know what's going to happen. I can tell you that. What else do we have? Has anyone tried the Skywave SSB? Well, there's a in the December edition of the Spectrum Monitor, Jerry, there's a nice article by God, I forgot his name, Tom Witherspoon, that reviews the Skywave SSB, and he seems to really like it. It seems to be a pretty good performer. He's talking about how he got first versions of the radio that were like, not the ones sent to everybody, but it seems that the last version that he got, which was closer to the production one, seemed to be pretty good. David in Barcelona, nice to have you here. Well, okay, David, that CRT that was here is this close to getting into the garbage. Well, being recycled. It's not that I really like it. The fact that it still works, and I would like to, but at some point, you got so much space, and you got to make a decision. I'm sorry, David. I know you liked it. Bill, K3WDR, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Radioactive's listening on 14185, not hearing the DX station yet. What DX station? Radioactive. Tyler says, Bruce says, currently am seeing my mom's phone, which is an iPhone IS. Shut off the GSM, and she is on it while talking to someone. I see the UMTS signal. Cosmic Lettuce says 10-second delay, still impressive. Yeah, pretty much. Weak RHC on 5040. Let's go down slowly. Take care, Cosmic Lettuce. It's nice to have you on board. FT8 on 14067. Really? Usually it's 14074. Patrick Manny, nice to have you here. Nope, that is a TV. It's a 32-inch Sony TV. But behind it is a HP desktop computer. So it's not a PC. I would not buy an all-in-one PC, Patrick. It's never been fond of these. It's something that but they're not set up yet, Radioactive. They're still waiting on the boat for Bouvet Island. You talking? They're still waiting on the boat in order to go on shore and set up. So they're not on yet. The latest news we have, they're still on the boat because the weather's not good enough for them to go on shore. Paul Swift, hello there. Nice to have you here. Richard Cook is receiving China Radio on 7350. So David says Sony flat screen isn't bad either. So you got some space, and at some point you gotta keep the Radioactive. You gotta keep watching the website. They are updating every day what's happening, because they're not on yet because of the bad weather. So, but eventually they'll be there. Okay, so you guys are watching the Shortwave radio show, and we're at 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it seems like time is just flying today. No show tomorrow, for those that wonder, and this will be the new setup starting now, so I will be, of course, checking out and installing. Like I said earlier today, the radios, everything you see here, I'm going to clean up everything. Next week you guys are going to see an Amiga 500 and Atari 1040 ST. This is going to be the new setup for Shortwave show, the tech show, and also maybe some kind of retro gaming show that I'd like to do just for the fun of it. It's funny because we're talking about the new rules, the new regulations of YouTube, which requires for monetization to have at least 1,000 subscribers now. And I was looking at my retro gaming channel, and the funny part is I got more than 1,000 subscribers on that channel, which I've never done much, and it's just kind of funny. So, you know. So nice to have everybody on board, my friends. And thanks for everybody who donated during the show, by the way. It's really, really cool. So we'll continue tuning around a little bit and checking it out. Nicholas Hughes, no, nice. It's not yet. We're going to continue a little bit more. Patrick Vanny says, bring back retro gaming. Yeah, I have to bring it back with my nephew Gabriel. We are crazy. We are crazy with our retro gaming. I mean, it's death, or it's we win or death. It's a crazy thing. The only thing is we kind of use the F word a little too much. I guess, I don't know, comes from competition or something. So yep, Amiga and Atari ST setup. And at the bottom here, I'll leave the Commodore 128 that I've got. They're all going to be plugged in here. So I'll be able to, if I want to quickly go to the Amiga, I'll just, switch, turn on the Amiga, play with whatever game I want to play. One of the things that I like with the Amiga and Atari is that sometimes I want to play some games. There are some of the retro games that are played back in the 90s or 80s that I want to play again because they're fun to play. So by setting it up, I'm going to play more often when I have some time, because right now I've got to take the damn thing, got to set it up, got to plug all the wires. So sometimes you're like, oh, I'd like to play that game, but you're like, yeah, I'm going to take an hour just setting up the Amiga, and for a 20-minute play of a game, it's kind of, I'm not going to do that. By having it set up permanently, I'll be able to just play whenever I want. What else do we have in here? So we've got a strong signal on 7375.
Los sabios mayas de Palenque, Chiapas, México, supieron algo al estudiar el cosmos y sus calendarios sagrados. Ellos tenían un mensaje para transmitir a las generaciones de este tiempo y dejaron señales a través de signos y jeroglíficos para que los descubrieran.
So this is Radio Marti on 7375. Radio Marti. What else do we have in here? Anything special in the lower frequency range? Let's check out 7210, I believe is CRI. So China Radio International in Spanish on 7210 from Albania transmitter site. Albania transmitter site. Hey Valtz, nice to have you here. This is about time you send that CRT to retirement. Nice to have you here from Latvia. And yeah, so Amiga and Atari ST will be set up here. We're going to clean up everything here. Have it a more a cleaner setup for also the visuals of, one of the big, and somebody was telling me, is like, oh, you have all these big radios here. Yeah, one of the reasons I have these big radios here is because it prevents you guys from seeing all the junk that's piled up behind it. But I'll be cleaning up and having a much better setup here. One thing for sure. Yeah, harmonics they're not coming from the TV or anything. They are there from some unknown source, Fastload. Unknown source from somewhere else that I can do. So, where else? What else do we have? So let's check out any other signals here. Anything special in there? So let's check out. There's something here. Red teletype there. Okay, let's move this here. So we've got 6175 Channel Radio in Portuguese. From Albania transmitter site.
Que usted y su esposa, Dios les ha puesto en una posición realmente hermosa. Ustedes son pescadores, no voy a decir que de
6115 is
de llamados, okay?
WWCR in Spanish. A lot of stuff that I'm listening to here. Stagnag. So here is Aeronautical 5550. Aeronautical Communications 5550 upper sideband. Oh, you're inherited in television with many game cards. Send me Mickey. Send it to me. I'll pay for the shipping if you want, and I'll gladly add it to the edition of the Amiga and the Atari, Mickey. If you want to send me, I'll pay for the shipping. No problem. If you don't know what to do, I'll know what to do with it, and it'll be a really nice addition to the gaming, the retro gaming I've got here. Don't listen to Fastload. He doesn't need it. I do. we're gonna fight it off. But I'd like it. I'd like to have it. If you don't know what to do with it, I really would like to have it. Mickey, I can tell you that. Please consider me. I'm the host of the show. Hey Nicholas, you do exist. I told you hello a little earlier. Radio Shack DX394, Yisu FRG7, Yisu FRG 8800. These are nice. So what else do we have? Yes, you do. We do see you, man. Well, if you're on another quantum dimension, I guess we would not see you. David Green, hello there, says Jill, I just set up an EFSW base on a review you did. It is working great, thank you. Cool. Cool. Nice to have you here, David Green from Iowa. The Intellivision, I think it was one of my friends that had one when I was younger. But if you want to depart, Mickey, from your Intellivision, I will pay shipping for all of it to here. Yeah, it happens sometimes, Nicola. No problem. We don't always see the people, and sometimes, you know, when people start talking about something, chat really goes fast, and you kind of miss out. I've had some people get mad at me because they say, "Hey, you don't answer my question," and I'm like, "Well, I didn't see your question." And sometimes it's because the chat just goes so fast that I just didn't see anything, you know. But I had mentioned hi. I had seen you earlier, but sometimes it's easy not to, you know, hear it. Good antenna for the FRG 8800. Well, it depends, you know. It's like any shortwave radio. If you're not in a very high noise environment, I can tell you that a long wire antenna can do a really, really good job on the radio. it depends on what how noisy you are. But of course, an FRG 8800, an outdoor antenna of some kind, can tell you that. Well, you know what, Vaults? There were a lot of stuff that were really rubbish. Like, one of my friends had a ColecoVision. Honestly, there weren't a lot of stuff on that ColecoVision. It was an amazing little device. But I remember the only game he played is because I had programmed a kind of, I don't know, trying to falling things from the sky before they hit the ground, which I had done totally in BASIC on his ColecoVision in 1985 or something. But honestly, it was like, it's kind of an interesting thing, but it's not. It was not in the limelight. It was not like, the Commodore stuff or whatever. So, when it doesn't hit that, popularity, you see that it's not necessarily the best. But, it's for the fact of getting an old thing, an old console, or one of those old, old consoles from the time that existed at some point. Mostly. Oh, there were so many. You know what? Mad Radio the Extra says the North American video game happened because of the too many Atari 2600 clones with poor quality ports. And you know what? One of my friends. Yeah, I know Vaults, but there's a lot of crappy stuff in that time. There's a lot of crappy stuff in the technology today. But they were part of what people had back then. But you know what? The funniest thing is, one of my best friends had a clone of the Atari 2600, which was the Gemini, and it would actually work with the original Atari 2600 cartridges. And I remember playing Jungle Hunt and Mousetrap with back then. It was crazy. Radioactive says, when you're old when you know what a Commodore is. Kind of, eh? James Megawatt, nice to have you on board. Yeah, Poop OS. We gotta do that. Poop OS. What I would like is do Poop OS for Mac and have a high-end MacBook with Poop OS on it. Okay, some people are gonna kill me for that. Venster Bank says his first computer was the ZX81. So that was a popular one. The ZX81 was one of the popular ones. I remember that. I actually have a Atari 2600 right here in a box. I need a power supply for it and at least one cartridge to test it out. I have no idea if it works. Absolutely no idea if it works. And I really would like to fire it up and have a couple of cartridges. If it does work, a couple of games for it, to just have, to just try it out and have some fun. I have no idea if it works. It's Fastload that gave me it, and I have no idea if it works. So oh man, yeah. There was tons of these ET game cartridges. The worst game ever made or something. It's nice to have you on board, Venster Bank. What else do we have? Polysticker says 2600 is a good name for a magazine. 2600. Fastload says still have my NES, SNES, N64, and Coleco. Man. Transit Radio says 1975 Atari Pong was my first console. That was actually That was actually my first. I don't remember if it was Atari, but I remember having the Pong console with the two you know, rotary things with the little, and I even had the gun to shoot the little square in the screen. And that was I don't remember what time I had that. I had that when I was young. Wow. Yeah, well, you know what? I was looking. I remember Fastload looking at the specs for the power of the Atari 2600, and I remember thinking, yeah, I can work something out. It's not very complicated, as long as you just don't reverse the polarity. That's the most important thing, you know. What amazed me of the ColecoVision, because I had a Commodore computer and I had the disk drive, but I had the cassette tape, and it was really, really completely nuts, because it was like a huge amount of time for loading any games. But I remember being amazed at the ColecoVision, that you put the tape in and it would actually fast forward or by itself and find where your game you wanted to load, or where that program you wanted to load was located. I have to say that had made me very, very impressed on the way that they did that. JD Williamson says MSX with the cassettes. Oh man. Radioactive. Speaking of old computers and such, would Meltdown or Spectre affect those chips? No, they affect only x86 type chips for the most part. And these chips didn't have... I do not believe these old chips had cache memory on board. They didn't have cache memory at all, so if you don't have cache memory available, you technically do not... There's no possibility for Meltdown or especially Spectre. I do not believe these chips would be... But then again, these things never go on the internet. So, you know. You know, like these 68,000 Motorola chips and stuff like that. I don't believe these are affected by that type. This is more of a modern thing, because it started, the Meltdown and the Spectre problem comes from the fact that the chips use cache memory and try to they try to know and find out what instruction is about to be done next to speed things up, basically. So what happens is that the Meltdown and Spectre bugs exploit the fact that there's a predictability in knowing what instructions are coming next due to what instructions were just done now. And that's because of virtualization of these chips. So the past chips don't do that. They don't anticipate the code. They don't do nothing. The past chips, all they do is execute the code as it is being sent out. So they can't be prone to any of these flaws, because they just don't predict anything from the future. They just do what they're said and they're told, basically. Yeah, fast load. You're bragging now. So what else do we have? Yeah, it's 9-volt DC. I remember seeing. I remember quickly seeing. Is there a fast load? There's one thing I was wondering, and that's why I wanted at least a power supply. If there's no cartridges in the 2600, if you power it up and plug it to the TV, is there something showing up on the screen? Does anybody know that? If you don't put the cartridge, do they at least display, I don't know, Atari or whatever? That's what I was wondering, because I wanted to at least just plug in a power supply, plug in the wires for the TV, and see if some kind of image comes through. I don't remember. I don't remember if there was something when you didn't have a cartridge inserted inside it. William Helms, nice to have you here. Have you plugged into my brother's practice guitar amp in my mom's living room? I need 2 of these Rolling Spirit bass. Wow. Montreal DXer, old console collection, Atari 2600, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, Atari, Jaguar, Commodore Amiga. I sold a Sega Game Gear, Atari Lynx, Commodore CD32, Sega Master System. Wow. Nice. That's nice. Capable Guardian says, back in my day we played left or right on the abacus for kicks. God. Crazy. But that was amazing. The ColecoVision was amazing for the tape stuff. Well, they do affect ARM with the speculative execution. Yes, you're right, Vaults. I forgot about the ARM stuff. But I don't think it has an effect on older chips, because it goes with the fact that there's some speculation of what's to come, and the old chips don't do it. You know, like the 6502 or the 68000. They don't speculate what's to come. They don't decide or look into the future. These chips just execute. Am I right in thinking like that? From my knowledge. X80DXer Keegan, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Sunny and low 50s. Here it's dark and minus 15 degrees Celsius, which is close to zero, about 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Man. Vienna Arsenault says, with games, I'm more contemporary. Flight Simulator, Steam, and Truck Simulator. I used to play that Truck Simulator. Was it 18-wheeler? Something like that? That was kind of a fun game, actually. 18-wheeler, I like that. Rock Restaurante says, first computer was a Macintosh Classic. Still have it, and still works. Sometimes I turn it on. I got a Macintosh Plus here with a 20 megabyte hard drive right there on the top. It stopped working because probably of the flyback. Okay, but it's interesting, Vaults. I'd like to read more about the older chips. So, okay, Vaults, do you think, we're not talking about them because, honestly, it's would there be a possibility of a Spectre flaw on the, I don't know, the Motorola 68000, or that'd be interesting to know. That's gonna be interesting. I just got an email that popped up in my face and said, hey, you gotta stop talking about computers, it's boring. Okay, I don't know. Maybe we should go back to radio. But I don't know. What else we have here? David says, Team will like enjoy this, the cutting RTTY with a computer the old school way. Oh man. I remember getting, I remember building my first voice synthesizer for a Commodore computer using the the SP20. I'm trying to remember the chip. It was a chip that was using the there was 50 or 60 pronunciations that you could put together and make words. I'm trying to remember, SPO 56 or SPO 256. or something like that. It was one of those speech synthesizer chips, and I had a lot of fun with all of that. Anyway, DXer says, my old Atari 2600 back in the day, the wooden one, this is the wooden one I've got here. It's a black screen and a buzzing noise. The newer one, I was given only a black screen. Okay, so if I power it up, they should have put a logo or something. I would have at least known if it works well. You know, black screen doesn't tell you anything. Capable Guardian, rainbow screen? Okay. Now you guys are making me want to try to see if I got a 9-volt power supply and hook it up tonight. I gotta say. Mick H, nice to have you here. And no, you have not walked into the wrong meeting. We've just gone from shortwave into old computers. Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh, the Atom computer. Yes, I remember that one. One of my friends had an Atom computer. I remember that. Wow. Oh, wow. Now I'm all mixed up. Was it the Atom computer that had the tape drive that searched real fast? Oh, man. I'm all mixed up now. Well, you know, Radioactive, I had the SWL cartridge that you put in the back of the Commodore, and I would decode radio teletype, Amtor, and Morse code with it. And it actually worked surprisingly well. And I remember buying it from, I think it was Universal Radio back in the 80s. And I paid a high price. I remember paying like $70 or $80 for the cartridge, and I was so happy because I could decode all of these signals. Have you got an empty carrier on 9900? Richard's asking. 9900. I'm going to check it out. 9900 has absolutely nothing here. Absolutely, well, not true nothing. I've got a very weak something. But it's too weak to really make out. Well, propagation isn't too bad, because if I look at the Royal Air Force Volmet on 5450 from the UK, coming in quite well. So this is Royal Air Force Volmet on 5450 from the UK, coming in not too bad actually. 5450 upper sideband. What else do we have? My first computer was a VIC-20, and my first PC was on Power PC would do it, but not on 68. Okay, volts. Huh. Okay, interesting. I'd like to brush up on my knowledge of those older CPUs. Huh, interesting. So we're gonna put a PowerPC Mac on the internet and be vulnerable to Spectre attacks. Huh. There was somebody on my Facebook today that said, hey, I got a problem with my Mac G3. And the first thing that I thought in my head when I saw I got a problem with my Mac G3 was, maybe it's time to buy a new computer. Just saying. Wow. MSX1 with cassettes. Wow. Hey, Yvonne Chalekov says, put together a directory of English language radio stations from over 100 countries that have live audio on the internet. Check it out. So, EnglishRadio.com. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for that. So, you actually put out that... I'm going to check it out right now. I'll even make a video about it, man. It's kind of cool. So, let's check it out. Paste. EnglishRadio.com. Internet radio in English. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is very nice. So you actually put a country list. Oh, this is cool. This is really cool. So, you know, in the possibilities of, you know, when sometimes you want to listen online or something. This is cool. Thanks for sharing, and I'll be talking about it, man. Really nice. Nice to have you on board, by the way, Yvonne. Billy Laptop. First computer was on my fingers and toes. Huh. Your car? Well, I do have a retro computer show channel, Vaslo, but you know what? By the way, you guys, I was testing out the Google Mini, and I bought a Google Mini and I bought a Chromecast, and because they are both Google, they speak together really well. So I started asking Google Mini for all sorts of things on YouTube, and I came across this guy that reviews retro equipment, and he's got a hell of a lot of retro computers and consoles. He's got tons of things. He's kind of interesting. I mean, he's very, it's a little bit like me. He's a little amateurish, meaning there's no, you know, it's not super professional, but he does get to the point of what we want to know. How they work, when they were released or not. And he actually knows his stuff, because he's going to tell you, oh, well, this computer was also known as that name, was released at that time, and they actually had a legal fight with Atari, and it's like, you start watching the guy, and it's like, okay, he knows what he's talking about, because he has all of these interesting facts about what happened. So I started listening to that guy, and you know what? I was about to go to bed, it was like midnight, and I got to bed at like 3 a.m. because I started watching all the series of videos that he was doing of every old stuff. And he's got tons of them. And it was really, really interesting. I can tell you that. So, you know, oh man. I'm not surprised actually, Yvonne, that at least 100 countries have English language radio stations, because there's a lot of countries that English is not necessarily their basic language, but still want to kind of be in that, you know, it's like on Shortwave. How many stations were broadcasting English when in reality their own languages does not necessarily mean you need to broadcast? Of course, they were broadcasting to other countries like North America, you know, continents like North America, or countries like, I just said countries like North America, and I was thinking, okay, that's a Donald Trump comment. There's nothing like countries like North America. I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that. But anyways, it's surprising how many countries actually have English language programmings on stations. Absolutely. Jerry, have I done any Microsoft Flight Simulator? Absolutely. I mean, the last time I played Flight Simulator, I was on my, I think it was on my Pentium 4 PC. And my nephew, Gabriel, had the latest version back then. And I had the official version with the maps and everything, and you could do lessons. And I remember going through the lessons and getting my license. I was thinking, if I do get on a plane and it crashes because there's no pilot, would I actually be able to understand enough of the plane to at least try to land it? Because in Flight Simulator, what was the most difficult thing is land your plane. It's always been the difficult part. And I could understand the instruments and everything, and I remember thinking to myself, with the knowledge I got from Flight Simulator, would I be able to really land a plane? I don't know. Is the simulation good enough for you to have that knowledge? I don't know. You have the knowledge of the instruments. You have the knowledge of how they work. But, that big plane in the sky trying to land down, I'm not sure that is good enough for that. I can tell you that. Oh, God. Take care, PLF Radio. It was nice to have you on board. So what did the groundhog predict today? It was funny because I'm on the Insider channel, and on Twitter, Donna Sarkar of the Insider team of Windows, and she said, "Hey, check in later," because Donna Sarkar calls herself, a Ninja Cat in the Microsoft sphere, and she said, "We'll have an officially Ninja Cat Groundhog Day." Oh, God. MDK2 says, "I got a Mac G3 in 1999. Yes, time to upgrade." Absolutely. That's what I thought. Nope, 11580 is WRMI is not on that frequency anymore, from what I understand. It shouldn't be there. Let's try, just for the fun of it, the buzzer. Anything on the buzzer? 4625. I don't know if something has changed, but I haven't heard the buzzer in a long time. On 4625. My first PC officially is, I really don't want to play with that Mini G4 Fastland. My first PC was a 8088 with DOS. Then I got a 286, then I got a 486, then I got a Pentium 166. Wow. Steve Quilter, nice to have you on board. M3CSP from the UK. Nice to have everybody here. Nicholas, you gotta stop taking drugs when listening to Shortwave, because you see all these signals that aren't there usually. Melvin Witcher, hello there, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool to have all of you in this show. Sorry guys, I don't want to bore you with old technology and computers, but it's kind of I like Melvin Witcher says, "Did I miss much?" And Steve's answer, "About 3 hours." So you did miss some stuff. The most important about Shortwave was probably the Bouvet Island, the expedition. That really sounds really cool, but they're still not transmitting yet. That's going to be really, really nice. So Radioactive says 6 more weeks. Yeah, man, you know what? Here in Montreal, we still have 6 months of winter left, so not 6 months, but come on. It's just, can you imagine that when they do that, they actually take the groundhog that is like sleeping his little winter sleep, and it's like, imagine you guys if you would be used for such an event. They go in your bedroom, they shake you up and say, "Hey man, is it going to be winter for the next 6 weeks?" All I'm going to say is that groundhog, and if he could reflect upon this, would say, you woke me up. It's gonna be winter for the next 2 years, man, because you're really annoying. Yeah, I could check the buzzer on the. I hear it all the time. I was on the Swedish. I was on the Swedish SDR the other day, and I could hear the buzzer really well, but I haven't heard it here in since I think the last time I heard it was like October, early October. So there's a pirate on 6925 apparently. I've got nothing here. Got nothing here. So I don't know, no pirates right now. I haven't heard of pirates in a little while now. Gotta say. So MDK2 says Canadian pirate testing on 6925 AM. I've got nothing here right now. And what else do we have here? The earliest version of DOS that I worked on, Fastload says he knows DOS started at 1.1. Wow, that's early. For earliest version of DOS that I started using, I think was DOS 3. DOS 3 was the earliest one. And I remember that I was so good at predicting outputs of different things when I was in college. They had this really boring course of, knowing your DOS commands. And I remember we had to go to the printer in the computer room because there was like 3 printers for 500 guys. And I remember thinking, am I really going to wait an hour and a half to just print out my output? And I remember I took a piece of paper and I manually wrote and showed exactly how it would appear on the printer page and said, this is the output of yesterday's learning. I will not wait 2 hours to get to the printer and the printer lab. So I just drew exactly what it looks like, because I know it's going to come out like this on the printer. So I get my exam back, and the comment was, okay, I will give you 60%, which was the minimum pass note, because you did the effort. But next time, I will not accept that you write with a pen what the printer should be doing on its output. And I remember when I got to the class, I looked at him and said, that was the output. He said, that's beside the point. I want to see a printer printout. I don't want to see your pen doing whatever the printer is going to print. Oh, God. That was, I think about it today. I'm like, man, I miss those days. I was like 18, 17 years old. It was fun. Oh God, OS2 Warp. You guys remember when OS2 was supposed to take on the world? It never did. It never did because Microsoft screwed them up. And I worked for Microsoft, and I just said they screwed them up. That's life. Oh God. Yeah, the 20 SDR is very, very good. PA1WX, absolutely. Yeah, OS2 Warp. Oh man. Oh God. You know what, Royal Howard? I tune radios regularly. I've got the ICOM here. I tune regularly the ICOM. I tune regularly other things than software-defined radios. I can tell you that. I'm not just an SDR fan. Radioactive says CNR5 on 7355. So you're receiving one of the Chinese national radio things? Anything here? Nope. You're more west than me, so you probably hear some of the stuff that, man. Yvonne says, Transworld Radio Bonaire on 800 kilohertz increased power. Now they make it as far north as Canada and south into Brazil. I can't, because here on 800 kilohertz, this is what I got. I've got this powerhouse CJ80 station.
As well as you go forward.
Well, again, Leslie, I'm just so thrilled to be going to the U of M. It's Quebec's premier research.
So I can't tune and I can't DX 800 kilohertz. But that said, I heard Transworld Radio Bonaire one night many years ago. CJ80 had maintenance, so they shut off at midnight for a couple of hours. And I had received back in the 90s, 800 kilohertz was very powerful. And I had heard Transworld Radio 800 kilohertz back then. So, I'm sorry, Royal Howard, but I did touch an actual radio. A FETRI is an actual radio. I don't know what you don't understand about the fact that an SDR is not an actual radio. And there's one right here. You want me to turn it on? Okay. Here. I turn on this radio. And here we go. Here we go. This, I've just touched an actual radio. Are you happy? I just did it. Okay? There we go. Da-da-da-da. What else do we have? Try programming using COBOL. Oh, man. Yeah, I remember these things. David says, an aviation passionate, I was an avid flight simulator user when I had the time. Didn't learn to navigate, but still enjoyed it. I learned how everything was, you know what? I was so passionate about it at some point that in Flight Simulator, I actually really learned how to use the navigation equipment, how to go, and I had the maps, because one of the anti-piracy things of Flight Simulator is they would give you paper maps at some point. And I was using the maps, and would go from airport to airport and would use all the instruments. I understand everything. But I always thought, if I was in a dire situation in a plane, is that knowledge good enough to actually land a plane? That's the question. That's the question. Oh, dots. Yeah, Patrick. I remember dots. WHR on 7385, very weak. Radioactive also says Marty on 7435. JD Wilson, so wasn't there, oh, absolutely, Amiga 500 and even the Commodore had some amateur radio log. I remember on the Commodore because my sister, which was a amateur radio operator back when before she passed away, she was Victor Echo 2 Delta Papa Oscar. Victor Echo 2 Delta Papa Oscar. If somebody has a old call sign book from the 80s, you will see Joanne Letourneau. My name is Gilles Letourneau. She's my sister. She was an amateur radio operator. And she had her call sign for, she had her call until like late 90s. And then she let it expire. Because back then, you had to renew all the time. Today, your call sign, I believe, is for life. But she had to renew. So Victor Echo 2 Delta Papa Oscar. If anybody has an old call book, check it out. It's my sister, Joanne. She had the Commodore 64, and I remember she had an amateur radio logging program for the Commodore that existed back then, and it would record your logs on a 5¼ inch floppy disk. And I remember she would make calls, she would make contacts, and she would record everything on a floppy disk. And I still remember one day I was at her place. She lived in, at that time she lived in Belleuil, which was on the South Shore. And I still remember telling her, you know what, you should make a copy of your disk. And I remember bringing a software called Fast Acom, which was a copy program. It would copy disks on another disk, full disks. And I remember telling her, from time to time, take your disk and copy it on another disk. If something happens, you won't lose all the loggings that you've actually recorded over time. And she had an amateur radio logging software for the Commodore back then. Nicolas Hughes says, receiving something on 6925. Hey, SWL France, bonjour, allô, bienvenue. Bienvenue, Patrice. F80.216 and F5056 SWL. Bienvenue, welcome aboard. So you know, Royal, it's just that there's tons of things that are radios. You know, SDR is a radio. Today we're seeing this, but many times I've done live shows with my nephew with portable receivers and all of that. You know, it's part of the radio hobby. Itricode says, Yvonne says 6050 HCJB. That was what I was telling you a little earlier. Let's check out HCJB on 6050. Yeah, it's there. It's some music. It's not as strong as yesterday, but 6050 is HCJB out of Quito, Ecuador, and it's pretty surprising. Yesterday I was listening to some great Equatorian music. Voice of Turkey 5960, guys. Voice of Turkey in English.
Its precious jewelries and metalworks to Hellenic palaces and temples. Cultural ascent smuggled to foreign countries after having been unnatural and illegal excavations in Western Anatolia at the end of 1960s, or later came to known as...
Okay, guys, we're going to do something to make sure that Royal Howard understands we respect radio. As of this moment, right now, I want everybody to touch an actual radio in front of them, next to them, wherever it is. Touch an actual radio, okay? Hey guys, hey, I'm gonna hold an actual radio, touch an actual radio, and we like radio, not just software-defined radios. So that was the radio moment where we all touched the radio together. So what did you do yesterday? Well, we touched radios around the world to make things better on shortwave. And so hope you're happy now. We've touched actual radios. So Voice of Turkey on 5960 kilohertz.
1,000 hills on the shores of Lake Marmara in the northwest of Salih district. 90 of these tumuli, known as the Anatolia's biggest, belong to kings and royals of Lydia. The biggest tumulus, with a diameter of 335 meters and a height of 69 meters, is of the Lydian king Aliactus. Sardes remained important after the
So Voice of Turkey 5960, pretty good signal tonight, direct from Turkey. Radioactive is touching a natural radio and IC 7200. Yvonne says new AirSpy HF Plus doing well. Put a video and check that out. CHU on 7850 for radioactive. Cool. Well, the high pitch tones, Nicholas, it might be because of local interference, honestly. So, you know. Hey, B, nice to have you on board. And, you know, the idea is just having fun. Oh, God, the Hercules graphics card. Polly Steckler, nice to have you here. Yeah, I can tell you that. Oh, man. Graphics. Hercules graphics card. I remember I was so happy to get my EGA graphics card. Oh man, this was crazy. You know, CGA graphics, then EGA graphics, then VGA graphics, which was like, wow. MDK2 says Voice of Turkey broadcast coming in well on 5960. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh God. Jerry says they shouldn't make a show on that live scenario of a plane crashing and see if a train flight simulator guy. You know, that's the problem is that crashing a plane kills everybody. That's why it's never been done. Because honestly, it would be nice to see. We've got John. He's been a pilot for, you know, Air France for the past 30 years. Here's Gilles. He's been trained on Flight Simulator from Microsoft for the past 30 years. Can he land a plane? We'll know next on Survive or Die, a plane crash. So, no, it's not damage. Why? Are you seeing something weird, Vaults? Maybe it's just the angle on which it is shown, but it's not damaged, no. Why? Are you seeing something weird? The LCD is okay. So, you know. Yvonne says, every night I have 4055 Guatemala, 6050 Ecuador, 6185 Mexico, and sometimes 6135 Bolivia. It depends on propagation here, often, Yvonne. Yesterday I had Ecuador, 4055 Guatemala is there almost every night, but it's too noisy here. I can't make it out. I just hear the carrier, sometimes some faint music, and that's it. I've heard Mexico the other day on 6185. I made a video. I've heard 6135 Bolivia a few months back also. So MDK2 got his PL600 on his left hand, touching it now. David's got touching his Sony ICF's Shortwave 11. Oh man. Patrick touches PL660. Big Stack 171, hello there, says touching his Yaesu FT301. JD Williamson, DX394. So you know. Nicolas is touching his Sony ICF SW12. Oh God. You know. Ah man, you know what, Vaults? If it's an autonomous box with no computers outside of it, we'll call it a radio. Oh God. You know what, VNA, you're saying, well, what your phrase sounds so weird because it's like, okay, you know, man, you can touch my icon, my C71 751, or my icon, my C7100, or my FT817. You can do whatever you want with them. Oh man, it's a joke. Oh, 16 colors, yeah. Hey, William Helms touching his G6. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Richard Cook's got an S9 signal on 6400 kilohertz. Yeah, he is acting trollish. And you know what, Chris? I am gladly tonight promoting you to moderator. So Chris Freitas is the new moderator. Let's clap our hands and be happy. New moderator is now in effect. And you know what? Jerry DX is not moderator. And I will put Jerry DX moderator. I'll be very happy. He touches radio inappropriately. Oh, okay. Where do you touch a radio inappropriately? Well, I stuck my hand in the power supply and just got zapped. That's how you touch a radio inappropriately. You touch the power supply and you get zapped. J.D. Williamson's got the really right sentence. A royal pain. Pretty cool. Good riddance. And just go to hell. Passion Call says, hey there, I need to take out my old ICOM 7600 MK2G for the exit. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Radio Cat made an appearance, Patrick, in the first 10 minutes of the show. And since then, he's been sleeping. So what else do we have? Hey, we're on what, 3 hours and 30 minutes now. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Jerry says the Flight Simulator Savior Guy show would be great to see. Yeah. Oh well. You know what? It never been done because the show they did, they killed themselves. So they said, well, let's not put that on the air because they just killed themselves. Kevin O'Reilly, nice to have you here. Says touch his ELAD FDM S2. Does that count? It's an SDR, but I can still touch it. Why not? Fastload says stop messing with that antenna. Oh god. So Chris, happy to have you here. You know what? Everybody that asks me all the time, that's cool, man. Fastload says more moderators than regulars. That's all right. That's what we want. And you know what? That just shows us that the majority of people that join in are just great people. That's it. And you know what? The funny thing here is that sometimes I get people saying, "Hey, you know what?" Sometimes I get people saying, "Well, I'd like to be moderator and everything." It's like, and I always respond back with, "You gotta earn that trust from me. You cannot be a moderator if I haven't earned that trust." And trust is something that you only can see through time. You see through time different people interacting. You see through time different people that are, always there, always polite, always great fans. And at some point you're like, well, you know what? You can be moderator because you really should be moderator. And I think that is something that you earn because, I've known you for a certain time. Basically. That's all. So, what else do we have? Okay. How would I react, Nicola, if I heard the Lincolnshire poacher again today? I would be surprised. I would be like, what? First thing I would think of is, okay, there's some pirate guy rebroadcasting the Lincolnshire poacher. That's the first thing I would think of. But for those that wonder what that is, Lincolnshire poacher. So this is what it sounded like, guys. After the ad, of course, because there's an ad. It's YouTube. So Lincolnshire poacher, and after a certain time you get these numbers, these weird cryptid numbers. Let's just so weird.
6, 6, 4, 7, 5.
So creepy. This is so creepy. So, I'd be surprised, but I think that it's probably a pirate or something rebroadcasting it. Prussian Cooley with VU2CBU. Nice to have you on board, my friend, as usual. B, exactly. B says, Jill, you have shown great tolerance and patience. For me, radio brings us together, not apart. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not here to I'm not here to first, I'm not here for competition or anything. That's why I've shown that I can easily, and I like and I love actually talking about other YouTube channels that talk about radio. I'm not in competition with anyone here. This is a hobby where we all got to unite together and have fun. Unfortunately, some people don't seem to be like that. That's life. And, well, if you're an idiot, that's the way things goes. So, Jerry says, a plane crash. Director says, shh. 6,400. Let's track it again, Richard, just for the fun of it. There's really nothing on if there's something, it's so weak, Richard, that it's impossible to do anything about it. It's very, very, very weak, honestly. Fast load. Hey, Isabel. Isa. And you know what, you guys? I was thinking about you guys at Fast Load and your wife, Isabel. I thought, I thought this morning, we haven't seen each other since Christmas. And it's really long overdue. We need to have a beer together and in our favorite place or wherever. I mean, it's been a while now. And you guys, it's been really cool to have you at on Christmas Eve. C'est like, salut Isabelle, je m'ennuie de toi, je t'aime. So for those that wonder what I just said, it's like, Isabelle, I miss you and I love you. So now Fast Load is going to be really pissed off. I don't think he sees any danger in here. Ah, God. You know what, Kevin O'Reilly? I was talking about that once on one of my shows. In actual video or live show, okay? Because he says, wonder how many watch but never comment. I watch most of the shows if I can, but don't always post anything. So if you consider that, regularly I go above 100 like today. If you consider that, there's a switch of people throughout the show. So we're at 3 hours and 37 minutes. Some people, big fans, will go through 4 hours of me rambling about whatever. There's also a lot of in and outs in there. So in a 100 viewing, so right now there's 85. Some people leave, some people come. And there's always that readjustment. So in an actual, what I've actually kind of derived through YouTube viewing and YouTube numbers is that in a 3 hour and 30 minutes show that we reached 100 and something, there was actually in and out about 300 people. Okay, really. In and out, I can derive from the statistics of YouTube. There were in reality through 3 hours and a half of the show around 300 people that just came in or got out. Some people got in and said, whatever that guy is saying, I have no idea and I don't care. Some came in, couldn't be there for more than, an hour or 30 minutes and got out. But there's a readjustment. In reality, the chat room represents a very small fraction of all the people that are watching. So the chat room there is a small fraction. You got to remember one thing. Not everybody has a Gmail account. to be in the chat and to talk in the chat, to chat, you got to have one, which is a Gmail account. A lot of people that got in, they can see the chat. They see it on the right side of their screens, but they can't interact with us because they don't have a Gmail account. Without a Gmail account, you can't get in. And so, you know, there's in reality a very small fraction of all of you guys are interacting with me. There could be a lot more. So it's interesting. It's interesting when you look at the statistics of how things work and how many people are there and so on, you know. Chitty Wilson says, sounds like an ice cream van to me. Oh man, that's a creepy ice cream van. Clever Name Radio, 6940 upper sideband. Do I hear it? Check it out. Anything? I ain't got anything here. Clever Name Radio Pirate, 6940 upper sideband. So, you know, the gong number stations was the best one. Oh, you know, there's so many things. You know, sometimes I have patience in general, and especially when I'm when I'm in a good mood. When I'm in a good mood, I have patience. You know what? Last week, 2 weeks ago, you know, I lost someone that's not going to watch anymore, probably because I use the F word during the show, and I try not to use it because I don't necessarily find that using the F word is a good thing. But then again, you know what? I also think that if something annoys you and you use the F word, you use the F word, and that's it. I mean, there's half-naked people on TV. You gotta stop going crazy over the fact that it will not always be perfect. It will not always be the best. And yes, I will sometimes use the F word because when I'm really annoyed, I got enough. And, you know, having a good mood, I'm pretty patient. I mean, you know, that guy used my patience also in a certain way. He was not, he was not, you know, he was not impolite in the way that he was not just, you know, using bad words or bad language. I don't accept that from somebody that comes over my channel. You know, obviously he was probably playing around, and it was obvious from the beginning. And tonight, you know, I feel I'm in a good mood, so I'm like, you know, bring on the idiots. I don't care. But you know, 2 weeks ago, the show had started for 5 minutes, and I had one comment. It pissed me off. And I used the F word. And then I got one comment that said, okay, well, I can't stand somebody using that word, and I'm leaving. What am I going to say? It's my channel, and I can do whatever I want. And, you know, I am pretty respectful. I got to say, I'm very respectful of most people. And I really try to be the coolest guy around. I think I'm doing a good job at it. And if anybody would do a live show, okay, with as many people that I got, and enemies that I've got, because I've got enemies, I'm going to tell you one thing. When someone shows up in the chat room, it's easy to lose it. It's easy to really go crazy and just want to, you know, really get some steam off. But in general, I think I'm pretty relaxed, gotta say. Yeah, carnival tune. Yeah, that would be a nice description, a carnival tune. Yes, absolutely. 6940 kilohertz upper sideband. Can you play the gong number station? Okay, I'm gonna check it out here. Gong number station. Let's check it out here. If I can get it to play. So, Fastlow said, what about we go here tonight and let's get drunk? We go there tonight and get drunk. Oh man, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea, Fastlow. You feel like going there? I'm already drunk. I'm at my third beer and I'm kind of already drunk. Really? Oh man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let me think about it. Gong number station. There we go. So, Lou Rubens, nice to have you here from Tampa Bay, Florida. KJ3LR. Always nice to have you here. 6940 Upper Sideband playing Fleetwood Mac music. I want to see Fleetwood Mac in 2018. They're doing their last world tour. So this is what you want to hear. Okay, we'll remove the ad. No, Okay. Is that what you want to hear? Gong. I hope it's that one you wanted to hear. Swedish Rhapsody was a good one. I remember that one. Swedish Rhapsody. Number station. Okay. So here's the Swedish Rhapsody. So these are beeps. Did you, Tyler? I didn't hear anything on 6940. You heard music? Because there's even nothing showing up in the SDR display. There we go. So that was the Swedish Rhapsody. That is creepy. That is more creepy. I gotta say, this is much more creepy. I gotta say. God. Pression Call says, I think these days Texan and Ascension are two major broadcast band radio manufacturers. Yeah. Chinese ones are actually very, very, very. B says, you are always trying to explain things about certain unfortunate circumstances on your show. You don't have to. Look to your subscribers. Oh, absolutely no. Absolutely no, Tom. You know. I remember, that reminds me of when I started doing tech jobs. I had some people telling me, well, you're expensive. Why are you asking so much money to repair my computer? And I remember there was if you guys remember, there was a search engine called Ask that became more of a virus troll than anything else afterwards. But I remember posting, how do I explain to customers why I charge the amount of money I charge? And the number one answer was, you don't have to. That is how much you cost, and that's it. There's no explaining to do. You don't have to say why it costs that. You are simply asking for that amount of money, and that's it. If the people are not happy, get somebody else. And it was like, okay. And after that, it was like, oh, well, you're so expensive. Yeah, because I'm good. Oh, but I don't know. Well, I know you don't know, but I'm good. That's all I said, Just funny. Hey, 3830 Radio Man, nice to have you on board. Been a while. Jerry says, International Space Station very active tonight. Well, if they have that extravehicular activity, that spacewalk, probably very active. J.D. Wilson says, well, that's straight from a horror movie. Absolutely. Hearing about number stations got me into the hobby, says MDK2. But the ones that are around now aren't half as strange, creepy as those ones. Oh no, the Conet Project discs, absolutely. What we just heard, the Swedish Rhapsody, it's that was creepy, and it's not creepy today. It's just crazy, just crazy. That's Matt Real the Exorcist, Swedish Rhapsody station, the scary ice cream van. The guy uses that song. It's like, I don't know why. No kid's gonna come and get ice cream here. Oh God, crazy. Oh yeah. DX is just like, what the hell was that? Especially with the very high pitched tones. I can tell you that. Oh man, it's just crazy. Just crazy. Take care, Fast Load. Have a nice supper. Hope you are. There's nothing less creepy than K-pop. Oh God. Oh really, Bobby? My videos are what really got you convinced about shortwave. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. What I particularly like about what I do, and is when I get, I regularly get an amateur radio operator that's been, not in the hobby for a long time, and said, you know what, I stumbled upon one of your videos on the ham bands, and I found out that, you know what, it still exists, and I got the radio out of the box, and I got everything back, and I set up everything, and it's because of you that I'm back into that fun hobby that I had totally forgotten about, and that still exists. And you know what, when I get an email like that, it's like, that's cool. That's really what is cool, honestly. Really, Take care, Nicola. Always nice to have you on board. And we're closing in on to 4 hours of show. So I'm going to slowly wind down also. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight, everybody. It was nice to be here. You know what? It felt good to be here. I was not here last week. A new setup I kind of like. I hope you like. Do you guys like the setup? What about the way that things are right now? Of course, here is going to be cleaned up. But, this is going to be like the new setup. The icon is going to be here. The SDR here. Here's going to be, a little different. But, I don't know. It's kind of cool. And hope everybody has enjoyed the show today. We've reached about 110 at some peak. I'm still amazed that 80 people are still watching after 4 hours. My rambling on of whatever. And, we kind of went into the old retro gaming stuff, but it's kind of cool. I want to thank everybody that have donated during the show. Thank you very, very much. Hey, F. Blasty, nice to have you here. Watching from work. Kind of cool. It's always nice to have everybody on board. Hope you enjoyed. Next show will be next Friday, 2000 hours UTC. And basically, David says, well, I like the CRT more, but I said, this new Sony screen is not that bad. Yeah, I know, David. I do have some. I still remember when I purchased that CRT I was looking at a good screen, and I was with my brother, and we went to several stores, and you know, the screens were all like $600-700. And then I went to this store. The guy said, well, I got this Panasonic for 600. And he said, oh wait, we just got a shipment of new Panasonics. It's the same model but a little different. And he said, oh, instead of 600 it's 400. And I said, oh, can you just kind of bring it up? I want to see it. And that was the Panasonic E70. Pirate on 6930 kilohertz, apparently, guys. Kind of nothing here. So thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's show. It was nice to have you all on board. It's always a really cool thing to have all of you here. Thank you very much. And next Friday, 2000 hours UTC. Hey, John Ritson. Take care. Always nice to have you here, but we're slowly. Yeah, well, you know, Rich Hill. What's happening with the likes also is that a lot of people watch. Like for in 24 hours from now, we'll be at 1,000 views. It's just there's tons of people that don't have a Gmail account, and you can't like if you don't have an account. That's also something. SWL France just uploaded North Korea video on his YouTube channel. And je vais avec plaisir aller voir ce vidéo SWL France. Merci. Thank you, everybody. 73, 73. I remember some of the hams, you know? 73 for the men and 88 for the women. Take care, everybody. Always nice to have you on board. Brett Wayne, KC2NXP, was nice to have you on board. And we'll be back next Friday. No more creepy tunes. I want to sleep. Jerry. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. And see you next week in the Shortwave show, where anything can happen. Bye. And thanks for the donations, guys. Got a lot of them during the show, and it's very appreciated. Take care. Love you.